Okay, let's go through the SEO Optima. We're going to go through sections of the report so you have a good understanding of what each section means. And because I love the animals, I'm going to use World Wildlife Fund for Nature, WWF.org, and the UK version. Let's hit the audit section. And this will run quite quickly. So that's a good sign, actually, when it runs quite quickly with the website. It means there's normally not performance issues or there's no technical problems. This one has quite a good rating with A, but you could actually go up to A++. And it also, even though it's got an A rating, there's still potential areas of improvement that could get you going up that Google ranking quite quickly. So let's have a look and see what areas could be improved and also what areas they want to keep. As before, it's broken into sections. You have on-page SEO, links, usability, performance, and socials. So socials, different social websites connected to your website. Performance, that's typically how fast it runs. Usability, that's whether it displays nicely on mobile devices or tablets. Links, what other websites might link to yours, as well as internal links, so other companies promoting your website. And on-page SEO, which we're going to go through today, is what you can do on the website content, so things like your keywords, so how people search for you, as well as how you can optimize the page. And what I mean by optimize the page, within your web content management systems, there's different tweaks that you can make to assure that you're going up those Google rankings. So let's have a look. And these are the recommendations. I typically will go through each section anyway, so we can see what the recommendations could be. This has an A+. I think I'm doing well, but believe me, there will be sections for improvements. And I'm going to go through and explain, even when there's ticks, which means they are doing well, what they are actually doing well at. And the title tag. Now, a title tag is what you need on every single page of your website. Always have this. The reason being is this is what Google uses to search for you. Now, because this is the home page, their title tag is Worldwide Fund for Nature, WWF. Now, it's a length of 32 characters, which is great because Google also requires you to have a character length between 10, so it can't be empty, up to 70. And the reason why 70 is the cutoff is anything after that, they actually either don't read it or truncate it, that your title no longer makes sense. So always try and ensure you're under the 70 characters. So when anyone searches for Worldwide Fund for Nature, they should find this website because Google's indexed it correctly. Then meta description tag. This is what the services are. So you can also put this on each page, and it is, again, going to help you go up those Google page rankings. So I would do. But think of this as a description. So think of the title tag a bit like the title page. And the meta description is a high-level explanation of what that page is trying to say, or the services you're trying to get across for that page. So because it's the home page, it'll be related to their services. So Worldwide Fund is the world's leading independent conservation organisation. We ensure that people and nature can thrive together for generations to come. Lovely statement. And again, they've got between the character length constraints, so 70 minimum. The reason why that's gone up as a minimum is because it's a description of the services or what that page is trying to say or you're trying to say on that page. Up to 160, because over 160, they potentially won't, they'll stop searching. And again, they'll either cut it off or they'll truncate it. So they have a length of 143, so that's fantastic. One thing I might improve in this, if it was me, this sounds like a value statement, which is wonderful. We ensure that people and nature can thrive together for generations to come. If my homepage didn't talk like this or have these within its comments or on the words within that homepage, I might change it to be something more like what the actual page is saying. The reason being is your meta description, Google likes it if your meta description matches up with the content of the page. So say if they don't actually have that on their homepage, they might want to change it. Maybe they have something like looking after animals or, ensuring animal welfare. And I would change the meta description to be a representation at a high level of what my page is, because that will make sure Google goes, oh, I like you. You can go up the rankings a bit more because you are matching what you say. The description matches the copy of your content. So remember that description matches the copy of the content. It's like a high-level synopsis, of a book. Your SERP snippet. Now, this won't always display, but this will be a mix of your title and it will be a mix of the meta description tag. This is the human view of what they will see. Now, the snippet and the display won't always look like this, but they will see the information when on Google search. Your href, this is your language. They don't actually have this here. And the reason why there's question marks, can you see up here? It has .uk. They've got their country in their domain name, but say if they were wwf.org and they had for Spanish and they had for English, they would want to set their primary languages of that page, and they'd want to tell Google what that page or that language was. And the reason why you do it, say if you have multiple different versions, is you want to tell the language to Google so it doesn't think that you're just duplicating copy of different pages. And the reason why you don't want it to look like you're duplicating copy of different pages is because Google goes, hang on, you're not saying anything unique. Very naughty you. You now go down the rankings. It doesn't like you duplicating copy. It likes you saying things that are unique and can be tweaked and updated, but not duplicated. So this is where you'd go to your techie. Guess what? If I have multiple different languages, make sure that you have language settings in there. And they should do that and know that anyway. But if you don't know a techie to be able to do that, in your web content management system, there will also be language settings on there on the page, and it should be quite easy to change it. Right, then the H1, these are your header ones, right? So you get H1 through to H6. Now, your header ones, you would want on every single page. This is what the human sees. It's your header of the page. So it's your title of the page, but the human one. And you want it on there. And I would have, especially for my page, it's a description of what the page is at a title level, what the human sees. So you could have something, I talk about digital transformation services, for example. So maybe I'll start off with what is digital transformation? Now, I've now kind of interjected probably one of what my keywords are. Keywords are what people search for. And each page that I have on my website, I would want a header one because that's what the human sees. And it helps it connect to the keywords. And again, it's going to help you in the Google search rankings and go up. I'm going to put these connections in the notes as well, so you easily have them as a reference. Your H2 and your H6s, these are less important than the header ones. However, they are good also as well, not just to, a lot of the time we use them as visual markers, like changing the fonts, colors and styles. And we can do that all within the web content management system. It's a way of visually segregating the content of your website page. So think of like a page in a book where you have different chapters and then different sections of those chapters. This is what your different H2, H3 and different headers enable you to visually identify, but they're also a marker for Google. So it's a good place for Google to go, oh, that must be important. What does that mean? What are they talking about? And that's them helping them identify what your core services are or what you're talking an authority of, that it helps them identify some key keywords that you have. So if you talk about something and put it in your titles as a description, that typically means it's something that Google thinks people want to search for as well. Okay, because you're talking about it and it's going, oh, that's how they talk about it. So this is how people will search for it in keywords. I think I might do a nice map or connection on this in terms of my handouts, just because that connection can come across as a little bit confusing. Keyword consistency. So remember, you're going to have your H1s, which is your headers, and you're going to have your H2s, 3s, etc. So your header ones, you'll probably always want to make sure that there's ideally some kind of keyword connection there. And I'm actually going to do another course about keywords itself, because SEO is a whole strategy of different things. You've got your SEO audit report, which is your foundation, the home, your keywords that people search for and how they search for it, and then content that connects to those keywords. So I'm probably going to do a whole course on this now. Well, whole program of different courses, shall I say. Now, the SEO Optima does a keyword check of your pages. So think of this as your as is, like your audio report of your current website. And it does two different things. It looks at singular words and it looks at phrases. Now, it's purely taking your current content as it is now. It's not thinking how other people might search for you. It's just thinking about the words you've used in your copy of your website. So how you use your phrasing and what you do. This is extremely useful when you do need to come up with a keyword strategy. Individual keywords. They have a lot here, but you know what? This is quite confusing. I would focus on individual keywords that represent my brand, or if I have a brand name. The reason being is, can you imagine, world might relate to loads of different things. Top might relate to someone purchasing a top. Tips could relate to, can I have tips for anything? So for me, there's limited value in these singular words at the moment. But what they are trying to show you, and World Wildlife Fund, world might be a good one, but I wouldn't have, and wildlife is a good one, I would say, because that's part of their brand name. What it's trying to tell you is these words, when I've gone through all the website and the copy, these are the amount of times that they show. And as you can see, it's in order. And these are the areas it shows across. So you get a nice tick because it's on the title of the page. This is Google's know and how they find it. It's in the meta description, so the services, so world is in the description of that page, and it's in headers, so the human element of what they can see on that page. So they got a nice tick on that one, and I'd expect that. I would want these individual words to relate to my core services maybe. So for me, example, it's like digital transformation. I'd want digital and probably transformation up there. And my brand name. So mine's Edwards Inspire. So I might want Edwards and Inspire on there. But anything over that, it's quite hard in individual keywords because they make limited sense because these keywords could relate to any area or any other type of business. Phrases, though, become a bit more interesting. And the reason why you want phrases, I use mine, for example. I'm not meaning just to interject. It's just a bit easier sometimes. I focus on digital transformation. So I'd probably want digital transformation here. But with WWF, you know what? They've got World Black Help. I would love something like World Wildlife Fund. That would be a nice one up here. Or Help Animals or Save Animals. Help Protect's actually quite good. You would want things that they relate to and you want their copy to actually say, because this is probably what people will search on. I don't think people will search on something like top tips. I don't think people will search on Acceptor. However, they've written copy that these are the primary keywords that they're using within their content copy. This is a good starter to help, especially if you are working with clients, to go, you know what, we need to look at how you write your copy. This is a big, though the structure's there, they are not writing copy in how people search for the website. This is because there's so many X's here, and these words to me do not relate or correlate to how someone might search for their website. This to me would be going, you know what, guys, we really need to look at how you write your content because it doesn't resonate with how people search for you. Because it's a World Wildlife Fund, I would want more things like, helping animals, helping the environment. It wouldn't necessarily be like these, look, all cookies, just doesn't match up. But what they're trying to tell you in the audit report is, does it appear in the title again? So that's the web page title that Google looks for, so the search engines. Is it in the meta description? So a description of that service. Again, what Google uses to search for it is a bit more of a synopsis of that particular page. The header, in this case, Top Tips does. So header tags, that's the human visual element of what's on the page. So think of it like a title on a page, but what a human sees. I know what, let's use H for human. Human headers. It's a better way of thinking about it. Human headers. And it goes to the different copies of the web pages and says, oh, that appeared 3 times, that appeared 2 times, etc. So when I look at this, I definitely would say, you know what, guys, we need to look at your content strategy. So it's another in for work, potentially. Mind you, I'm a big believer in paying it forward. So whenever I do this or after the courses, I might go to them, guys, can I give you some free advice, or what can we do to help? Because it is good to pay things forward for sure. Right, amount of content. I digress. Sorry about that. This is the amount of words on a page. And what they've done is gone through your website and they've come up with an average. Now, 447, not too bad, but typically if you try and aim for an average around 800, that's pretty good. The reason being is it's getting higher because Google keeps changing their algorithms over time, but they want to assure that this average amount of words on a page, and again, they go across the whole website to try and figure this out, to show you an authority of what you talk about or you speak about. Now, some people, it's quite hard sometimes to gauge this, right? But a good way of trying to keep that content copy up in terms of the amount of words are creating things like thought pieces or blog articles or I don't know what else, referencing latest pieces. So for WWF, maybe the latest pieces about the environment, their latest monthly report, or their latest campaign results, but given a thought piece and a descriptive text around it. So it's more an interesting article. And thin content, the reason why that's not great, so it means it has the lower word content, is Google starts to think that maybe you're not providing informative information to the people searching. It wants you to have content there because people are going to search for new content all the time. They're not necessarily going to search for your website if it's saying the same thing the whole time. Wonder if that makes sense. So when you create content, you want to assure roughly 800 words average, and you want to assure that you're continually updating it. The reason being is because you'll go down the rankings if you don't, because it's assuming if you have stale content that, you know, that you haven't got much to say and people then aren't searching for it. So it's Google's way of rewarding you, saying, you know, keep the content. It means you're a subject matter expert about what you're talking about. That means people are going to want to know about what you're talking about. And because it's staying up to date, people are going to be happy because they get up to date information. So don't always think as a website as a storefront. If you do, you'll go down the rankings. And this used to be an old school thinking. I worked for a majority of, you know, big brands when they just had it as a storefront. However, it went down the rankings and then they couldn't understand why it wasn't going up SEO or it kept going down. And it's because they wasn't releasing new content or they wasn't adjusting their evergreen content to be relevant and interesting to the audience. Because people with a storefront will probably go once if there's, and that's it, and not come back if there's no new content to entice them to come back to you. So they have a big X there. And this, even though they have that, was it A+ on this grade? Let's have a look. Go back up. Even though they had an A+ in this section, I think it was, yeah? If they get their content and content calendar, they can even go up a lot more on the website rankings because they are not creating content in line to how customers are searching for them. And they don't have page content or enough words on their pages or up to date for Google to go reward them and up the page and up the rankings. So putting this in place and having a keyword strategy and content calendar, they can actually appear a lot more elsewhere without people needing to search for them. They can appear on different topics if people didn't know about them. Maybe they don't need to do that because they're such a big organization, they have lots of paid media. But can you imagine with a smaller charity that doesn't have the paid media? They're probably in exactly the same place. And also as well, if WWF actually didn't pay for all the media and they actually just did better organic, wouldn't that be nicer? And the money could go to the animals? This is what I'm thinking anyway. Right. I digress. I should carry on a bit. Image alt attributes. This is another thing, one of my level of improvements to make, because one, I think it helps with inclusivity of all. So an image alternative text is what it means. Old days, when websites were slow to load, the images took a time, so there used to be a text description of that image until the page appeared. The image appeared. Now, if you had that, you'll be told off big time by Google because it takes too long to load. But now it is used to help those that have readers on their website. So the visually impaired that might need a reader to go through the website. And if you think about it, you then want a nice description of those images. You don't want, for example, I'm currently wearing thick glasses. I'm in like a grey t-shirt, kind of slightly mad looking hair. My description of the image, if it was on there for me, it'd be like, geeky looking woman with a grey top, looks slightly dishevelled and a bit of a mess, hasn't had enough coffee this morning. You know, you can have a bit of fun with it. The reason being is, maybe not as descriptive as that, is you want it to be inclusive to the visually impaired. So they get a rich experience from the website, and Google rewards you from that. The alt images aren't for keyword stuffing. They aren't, and keywords mean, you know, say if you're animal charity, you wouldn't say Katie Walker, animal charity, you know, promoting it. That would not be a description of me with my glasses looking dishevelled. When it does make sense, you can put a keyword in there, but make sure it's a description of what it portrays. Even emotional elements, just to enrich that experience for the visually impaired or anyone using a reader. And Google goes, you know what, good guys, you should be doing this. You can go up the rankings. So I like that one. That's one of my favorites. And actually, it's one of those that I've seen the speediest to go up those rankings when you improve things like that. And it's amazing how many people don't do it. But when you want to make that change, it will be a simple thing in the web content management system where there'll be alt tags. But also probably know, if you've not seen before, you have it on social media posts where you can do alt descriptions as well, which I try and do all the time. Right, chronicle tags. Now, this is a bit of a techie thing, but if you have a page where sometimes it has like a question mark after it, and then has information, goes blah, 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 blah. Obviously, that's not the right way of saying it. It can look like that information doesn't change sometimes the page structure, or it might just change contents or elements of the page, but to Google, it's still the same one. Now, if you do that, sometimes Google doesn't like it because it goes, oh, you're duplicating a copy again. So you would need to work with your techie to find out what your primary holding page is and how that's all set up. But here, they got a nice tick because they're not doing that. But if you ever see something with a question mark and all the information goes on the same page, anything after that, that has an indication that Google, if you didn't have this tick, the chronicle thing, or Google might tell you off for duplicated copy. But do this search and see what it says. 9 times out of 10, if it's a simple website, you might not have that and it won't be too much of an issue. Right. No index tag, well, you're fine. No index just basically means don't index the page or don't follow the page. Now, they haven't got this set up. Why you might have that. Social sites have a no index. That means that you wouldn't index all the different social elements on there because you don't own it. Or say if you had a page where it's not your website and it's an external one, maybe you wouldn't index it. You're saying to Google, that's not yours, so don't go and search it. SSL, this is your secure socket layer, and Google is the main person that made us all have these. So you see where it's got the S after that? That's your security certificate, your HTTPS, that's your security certificate. Your secure socket layer is this. There's the S bit on there. And it doesn't like it if you don't have that now. So if you just have HTTP on any page, Google doesn't like it. And you'll get those little messages saying, are you sure this is a trusted site? This is not a secure site. Sure you want to go ahead? And a lot of now, when you have your websites, you can get those certificates for free. But mind out, typically they only validate them for 3 months when they're a free service. So you have to keep renewing them. Robots TX, that is just allowing that robots can search your website. If there's any blocked, sometimes, I don't know, maybe there's some dodgy ones out there, and you do get them, but it doesn't look like you have that here. XML sitemaps. Now, this is nice because this is slightly different to a human sitemap, right? Google likes sitemaps like this because it can easily see the content and see all the different pages on your website. Now, you could have a human form sitemap, but that is not as good to Google as this XML sitemap, right? So have it like there because it's easier from a techie point of view for the Google to understand it. Google Analytics is in place, and they also have a schema structure in place that is telling Google, you know what, this is how it's all structured and put together. So looking at the last little section for the SEO on page is rankings. Now, this is the top keywords that actually drive traffic to your website. So rating number 1 is Amazon's, number 2 Amazon, number 3 Lion, number 4 food. Now, how this is set out, so Amazon's, the country and location that these keywords are primarily coming from, which is England, and this is the position. So this is when you rank against other people or other organizations, shall I say, and other websites that also have Amazon's as a keyword within their content or titles. And for WWF, it's driving the most traffic with 20,400 searches. Sorry, it's driving this many searches, but the actual traffic, i.e. the people that hit your website, is 120,360. So this is the amount of searches it generates. This is the amount of hits it creates to your website. Now, Amazon's, so I don't know, like Amazon's rainforest in plural. But this is why I think more as I try and articulate why that might come up. I don't know. It probably must be something in the wording or how it's phrased. But Amazon is another one. So Amazon rainforest could be. But as you know, it's also a big kind of supplier. It used to be books back in the day, didn't it? But supplies a lot of goods now. So that's why that WWF is probably positioned number 46 compared to other organizations. I would assume someone called Amazon, a big company or organization now, might be number 1. However, it's still driving a lot of traffic to their website. But what interests me is, look, the number 1 here. Oh, for Wow Shark. Wow Shark. Is a wow a shark? Let's try this again. Wow Shark is a wow or shark. I think it's because that's how it's phrased is a bit strange, isn't it? So from it looks like English language for the United States is number 1 in terms of positioning. So that means that WWF is number 1 in terms of the ranking of this search term here, which is great news. You want that. And it's driving quite a decent amount of hits to the website, 61,000. And this is the amount of searches. Sometimes you might want to convert. So take this divided by this to give you a conversion rate. Because if your searches are extremely high, but you're not getting enough then hits from that, then the keywords or your website is not resonating with the audience of what you're talking about. So you would want to change things a bit. But this looks a pretty good conversion rate. So I would say, actually, I'd look at this. So let's go and have a look at what this means. Because how it's phrased, wow shark is a wow or shark. It's quite topical, right? Like people are interested. It means, topical means that they're talking about things that interest them. But actually, in this instance, it's not directly related to the conservation of the animals, is it? So let's go and have a look and see when we put it in search, because you see it should be number 1, how it ranks. Let's go and have a look. And it does, www.org. And this is like a snippet that they create. You know, it dynamically creates on your Google title and content. Whale sharks are not whales, they are sharks. Although these huge sea creatures are called whale sharks, they are not actually whales, but filter-feeding sharks, often referred to as gentle giants. So 5 interesting facts about whale sharks. Now, good on actually WWF, because they're getting a lot of conversions from this. A lot of people then going onto their website. So this to me might indicate that they have an audience for education. They have, maybe it's younger children, maybe it's just people just genuinely interested, which is a good way to use content to maybe even diversify into a different audience or a different segment to get more awareness. So, in other words, the original people weren't going, I want to know how to save animals or searching for that, which is a lovely thing to search for, but they weren't initially doing that. They were searching for informational facts about animals. And with WWF, there's conservation about these animals and the environment that they're in. Sharks and animals. Oh God, I'm useless at this, aren't I? Then having content that those people are interested in is a great way to get awareness themselves. So good on them. They did really well there. Right, let's turn this off. So they're doing number 1 and they have 201,000 searches and 61,104 visits to our website. And again, if you wanted to check the conversion, so maybe the conversion actually is a little bit lower here when they're searching Amazon, and maybe they wanted Amazon books, because that's the traffic is 78,120. So that people that actually hit your site versus 37 million. So just Amazon by itself is not helping. So it's basically there's other traffic or other searches going to Amazon bookstore or things like that. However, you're position 46, so I won't worry too much at the moment. And it is driving enough traffic. But I would then look at the content of my pages and see how I can create some more of these ones, because this is really good ranking. SEO is not a science. Well, SEO is it's kind of a little bit of science as it's experimental, right? You don't actually know your results, and you kind of got to play that with the recipe a little bit to get what works for you. And you have to change it over time based on people's different interests in the way that they search. So maybe back in the day, just Amazon itself was fine for them. But now with the Amazon bookstore, which has been around for a while, as we know, but maybe with that growing as like the number 1 popularity, they've kind of impacted their traffic that they get to their site. And so they actually have to update their information on their website and provide more interesting articles that people want to search for. So this educational piece is a really good one. I digress a bit. This doesn't tell you much. This is the monthly traffic volume. It's great. It's high, right? It's basically saying they have over 9 million traffic. So it's a very popular website. So it's very good, a big green light. We know that they have an overall really good rating. However, they can always improve. And they can always, for me, when I look at this, I think it will be to drive more awareness with people that aren't necessarily aware of their good efforts, to get the younger generation as interested about what animals are, or educational pieces, or the events and the fundraising. There's loads of different angles they can take. Or even, because I'm a big animal advocate, maybe they can talk about events about fundraising, which are alternatives to other things, like helping for fundraising to help with cancer, and alternatives for that, like maybe a more human, relatable experiment or things like that. I already work for a foundation that looks for alternatives to animal experiments, and it's a charity, and maybe they can connect with them and help kind of with that event and fundraising there. Right. At the moment, they're at position 31 to 100. What this just means is the amount of keywords over on their website. Typically on a page, they're positioned from 31 to 100. That means that other companies are higher up on the rankings of the keywords that they're using. So, like Amazon, that's going to get like number 1. But they're about, on average, around 31 to 100 compared to all the other organizations. So they're not getting enough of the share of the space on the keywords that is in their content. This to me is again thinking if they revisit their keywords and look at different things, they can improve even better awareness, maybe for a different segment group. So what they really want is to be more up here. Okay, so I definitely think www.org.uk could look at a content strategy that should definitely improve awareness and drive more donations predominantly. So that could be a good move. Let's just have a bit of a quick recap. So it's quick. quite clear. And again, I'll be putting things in the handout notes, just so you have a nice, easy, relatable reference to everything. So at A+, they're doing really well in their titles, what Google searches for, meta description of the page. Again, Google uses that snippet. That's how it's displayed. Language and everything's there. They have nice headers in place. So your human headers in place on the page. Keyword consistency, they're saying not great. However, these keywords don't necessarily align with what they want to say or what I believe they would want to say. So maybe you would look at a content strategy and their keywords that connect with that content. But the key areas that they can improve is the amount of content they have. Again, aligns to the thought that they might need a content strategy in place, aligned to how customers search for them. And another one, that if you improve now, outside that, so within their web content management system, actually would improve their ranking straight away, I believe, anyway, is the image alt attribute. So 8 out of 20 are missing them. And just putting those things in can easily help you go up the rankings quite quickly. And an alternative text is a description of an image. And ensure that you can put in emotions or things like that just to make it a rich experience. But this will be the number of things I would say that they can actually improve, and you never know, get them an A++. And that was it. Everything else was in place in terms of how Google searches for things. So they did pretty well in this section. Okay, so we're going to run the SEO Optima report again in the section of on-page SEO, but with a different website and a bit quicker, just so you can see how things might change and you get a flavour for different areas of improvement and what they're also doing well. I'll be a bit quicker on this one, just so it's not so tiresome, because believe me, this report can seem a bit complicated when it's run so many times. So press the big yellow button, the audit button. This is just a way when I go through it, just to help the information resonate with you so you have a really good, thorough understanding of what this report means. This one is, again, another charity, and it's for a donkey sanctuary in the UK. Overall grading, they have a C+, so they definitely have some improvements they can make. Anything really with a B+, I typically would go, yep, you definitely can improve things. The other one we had, I think it was an A, but there was still improvements they can make. So again, it categorizing these sections, on-page SEO, which we're going to go into a bit more detail on what they're doing good and what areas they can improve. The links. So we might go this on another video as well, because they're really doing quite bad on that with the D. Usability. So this is again your how your mobile devices and things like your tablets use the product. So how images nicely display on there. Performance, how fast it loads. They're also not great at that. And socials, so what social sites are linking to your website, or what you have on your website, shall I say, that is your own social channel, so your own social media. Again, has the recommendations at the top, but I'm not going to go through as they have it, because they give different priorities, and I'd rather you make up your mind on what you think is the right priority, and you learn through by doing. So that's why I'm going to give you advice of what you can change within the sections. Right, so let's go straight down to the on-page SEO. This is their B. And for free, you'll start to see comparisons with the other one of where they've done well and where this one needs to improve. So you get a good flavour of how you might run it against your different websites. Again, as a reminder, on-page SEO is everything to do with your own website and the copying the pages, so the website copy itself, and how you structure that. So in your web content management system, what different tags and what different structures you put in place. Now you can work with a techie or you can make the changes yourself. But your title tag is, in essence, a bit like a book title. You have this on every single page. You definitely have this because this is the one that Google goes, oh, great, that's what you do. And it uses it as a reference for every single page of your website. Again, between 10 and 70 characters, this one's doing really well. The reason being, anything over 70 characters, Google either can truncate it, so change the format of how the title is, or just basically cut a section of it off. This is a length of 45, and it's a big description. It's the Flickr Foundation Donkey Sanctuary Home. It's a good description of what the company, what the charity actually is. If you didn't want to do a dash here, you could do like a line or something else. It's a good way of differentiating that you're on the homepage. This says length of 45, and just a side note, currently, characters around 55 is pretty good for a title at the moment. So a character length of 55 letters is a good title length at the moment, and is getting some good click-through rates on Google. So they're doing that well. Meta description, remember this is a description of the services that that page is talking about or provide. So here, this is their homepage it's looking at. It's got a cross. The reason being it's 189. This won't be great because what could happen is all these nice words can get cut off. So they will cut off, can't think of the difference. What's 189 take away 169? 29. So 29 characters, or words, shall I say, letters, could actually be taken off. So 29 letters stroke characters could be taken off. Or Google can even change how this is formatted. So it can be a bit strange for the newcomer to see what is kind of there, and it won't help basically in any form of usability. So they need to reformat this so it's under 160 characters. They would need to take out 29 letters from somewhere. Some easy ways of doing that, instead of and, you use the and sign, the ampersand sign. Over 100 animals, what else? Yeah, it's not that you don't think it looks the best when you read it from a human point of view, but you want your SEO to go up. So maybe just put ampersand signs might be the easiest form, or remove some other words there. So don't do sanctuary and registered charity. Maybe you don't need registered charity. It's already known it's a registered charity, and maybe that's not what the homepage talks about. So ensure your meta description is short enough for the Googles to easily pick up on what the content of that page is saying, or what the key services of your homepage are about. So either content of page or services you're trying to say about the homepage and what it's about. And it doesn't always have to say charity, because you kind of got an understanding of that anyway. Your SERP snippet. Now, this is a piece, Google formulates it on the fly a little bit. And typically it'll be taking something from the title that's there and from the meta description, but it actually can formulate it in a way, or correction, it can be taken from some website copy or web page copies. It's formulated in a way based on how people search for things. So say if I search for donkey sanctuary in the southwest, is it South Cornwall? South Cornwall. This is how Google's thinking it might represent it, or correction, this is how SEO is given a representation of it, how it might get formulated. It's a dynamic snippet of the information based on how people are searching for your site. And Google doesn't actually tell you how it's going to dynamically create it. You will start to see it over time. And you can see, look, it gives you it should be easily readable. So don't worry, it should come up with quite something nice, easily readable. It won't be a load of gobbledygook, but you don't 100% know how it's going to display it. But assure that you have your titles in place. Assure you have the meta description tags in place for each page, and it will make this being formulated a bit easier and a bit nicer and more relatable to how they search. Right, hreflangs, this is used if they have multiple languages on a page. So I'm based in Spain, so I might have an English version, Spanish version, and there might be a Catalan version and where I am. This is just an indicator of the different versions that that page has, which Google likes it to indicate, because if you don't, sometimes it can look like you have duplicated copy. Language page, they've got this all set, they like that. Header 1 and header 2. Now, naughty this charity. The header 1s and header 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, if you remember, are the human relatable titles. These are what you see on the web page itself, okay? So a human will see this. So think of H as human headers. If you don't have it on every single page of your website, you are losing potential connection to those keywords when people search for them. A keyword is simply the terms that people search on. So if you don't have it on a page, you can be going down the Google ranking or not being able to maximize your ability to go up the Google ranking. So they would need to make sure that they put on a header 1. So that's what you visually see on every web page. And you can go into a web content management system and easily see if it's a header 1, header 2, header 3, header 4, header 5, header 6, just by looking at the elements within your web content management system, or you can ask a techie to do it for you. Now your header 2s to your header 6, you don't have to have them on each page, but it's good practice to at least have, I would say, header 2s and header 3 on a page, especially if there's a lot of big content, because it starts to help give additional information kind of related to your keywords. But I personally think it can help you go up with Google rankings a little bit, because if you think, well, header 2 is like a subsection of a page, think of it, it's like defining a chapter of a book or something. It tells you what it is. It's giving it even more additional information to Google as well as the reader, because it helps visually format it for you. But Google can also start to pick up on it and go, oh, that's good. They're talking about this element of this as well. So always use your header 1s as a must, but also see if you can use header 2s and header 3 to segment content on a page so it's more visually appealing, but also as well it gives additional information to Google about what you're talking about in a page. Have I got an example? I'm trying to think. Maybe if we're talking about an event at the local donkey sanctuary, maybe the event is donkey sanctuary event is the header 1, or donkey sanctuary events is the header 1, and then your header 2s might be the dates of those events. So donkey sanctuary or event on 2nd of November, come celebrate with us, the new arrivals, and your header 3 might be, I don't know, feeding time at the event centre. I'm really making it up now, but hopefully you get a gist of your header 2s and header 3s are additional context of a web page. Keyword consistency. Now, here, like before, you've got your singular individual keywords and your phrases. And remember, keywords are what people type in to the search or Google, to Google. It's basically just what they type in, and that's a keyword. So on their individual keywords, I typically only think of things like brand names or things specific to your core business, because they don't make a lot of sense to focus them on alone, not this many anyway, because if you think about it, help can go across businesses. Foundation can go across businesses, home can go across businesses, cares can go across businesses, but maybe donkey they do want and it's worthwhile. But what they're just trying to tell you in this report is to assure that you have this in the title pages, the title page, which is what Google uses to find the page, the meta description, a description of that page or service, which again Google uses, the human header, so your H1s through to your H6 on the page, and it's also counting the frequency. So this is like an audit of your web page itself. Overall website, shall I say, and it's counting how many times that they appear. So I would only really look at these if they're relating to my brand name or my core service. Anything else will be hard to really focus on, and it all relates to your keyword strategy and your content strategy, which I'm going to do in another course, I think, after this, because it's definitely needed and it'll be a nice lead-in. Phrases is somewhere I probably more focus. So Flickr Foundation is their brand or their organization name. they've got it in their title. I would definitely want to fix it that it's not in their meta description tag, because this is core to the services and what they provide. And they're being good because they're showing it's in their human element header tags. Foundation donkey, that's a bit of a weird way of saying it, but that could be one. Sometimes rephrasing things, because people might type things in a weird way, can help. But I might look at their copy and wonder why the hell it's written that way. Donkey sanctuary makes sense. They've got ticks all across. I don't know who this is. Maybe this is the founder. Ways to help, not something I'd want as my top level keywords. So what this is giving me an idea of, is that their copy is not always representative of maybe how one of their donation people, or what's the word, volunteers, people that want to help, that's a better word, isn't it, actually search for their information. So maybe they would want to look at creating new content aligned to how they search, because the information here isn't that helpful and they are showing the top ones that appear. Amount of content, this is really saying, and this is again kind of aligns it to a content strategy, is they've got 171 words. It creates an average for you. You really, I would say, want about 800 these days. And it can be anything to 2,000 words for really thought-piece articles, like long articles where it's really informative. But the reason why you probably average about 800 is you're going to have some web pages that are more just like, contact us. There's not a lot of detail there. but other ones that are more articles about having fun, or about, information about the event center, or how to find us, or, directions of getting there, or maybe it's a thought piece on a new donkey that just arrived to the sanctuary. The reason why you want new content is Google wants new content created all the time, because the more relevant it is, the more that they believe there is going to be a demand for that content. So a good strategy for this donkey sanctuary will be to create new content on a regular basis aligned to what they want to talk about. So introduction to new donkey arrivals, or the day in the life of our farm or our donkey sanctuary, are all good thought pieces to put up there to assure that they stay up the rankings, and to assure that they have a higher level of word count because they're creating more content. Another way to get around not having thin content, and it actually is alluded to here, is the conical, I can never say this, tags, is these tags means that the way that they've designed it, they've done something strange. Sometimes there's this question mark after your URL, and that's wonderful for tracking pages, okay, and analytics. It's not wonderful always for SEO. And so you need to inform SEO, and you need to tell Google what to do with these things. The reason being is anything after this page actually can mean it's exactly the same page that's displayed, however, it's just past analytical information for people to track. But SEO doesn't know that, and so then treats this all gobbledygook after the question mark as a separate page. But that separate page has exactly the same content or very minimal difference. So that means that Google goes, or SEO goes, you know what? Are you just duplicating content, guys? That's naughty. And you actually can go down on the rankings. And it's quite a hard thing to do. And Google's actually not figured it out either, what the best practices are on this. And believe me, this is a whole new level course of what to do. But top tip, talk to your techie persons about chronicle tags if they ever use anything like this afterwards. And then see how to cope with that, because there are different measures that you can put in place. And you know what, you can also ask me questions for advice during your project work if you wanted to. But that might be why the amount of content is thin, because not only do they check the amount of words, they also check to make sure there's no duplication and won't double count that. Right, next one, Audit images, that's in place. So that's your description of the images. So a donkey might be in a field. Mary, Mary the new donkey, looking very happy in some grass and talking to the local sheep. It's a descriptive element of the picture that you've taken to be informative, emotive, emotional, put all those nice bits in it, because it helps with people that are using readers to use your website. So it helps those that are vision impaired to get a rich experience of your website. No tag index, tag. You have this when it's not your website, or you might also have it on social channels. So you don't want SEO to follow all these different ones because they're not your asset. They're not your website. So when it's an external link, you'd probably have a no index or a no follow type tag, and your techie people can help you with that. They've got it in place. Then your SSL, that's your secure socket layer, is this S piece on your HTTP. Now, Google actually kind of made it necessary for everyone now, because they give a horrible warning if you don't have it and you only have the HTTP, saying, are you sure you want to go to this site? It's not secure. Do you want to press here? Big warning sign now. But good news is nearly every provider provides the certificates for free. That was something that got passed because of that. But those free certificates, warning, normally have an expiry of every 3 months. You have to renew them every 3 months. And they're good. They've got their robots that can index it. These are bots that can go through the site and search things. They're not always just for Google. They're for other search engines. Blocked by robots. There's nothing blocked at the moment, so they can search your site, is basically what it's saying. An XML sitemap. Now, this is good for your Google searches and your other bots, actually. When you have a human site map, you can click on it and say, our sitemap, and you see all the links. Now, you want an XML one because it's more data formatted for the search engines to easily see it and understand it. And they've got that in place. They also have their Google Analytics in place. And a schema org, which is XML, they don't. This is a bit of an extension of this XML thing, but it's for how the overall pages of your website are structured. A schema all are a technical way of saying, oh, this piece sits over here on this page. This piece sits over here on this page. It's to enable search engines to easily identify what sits where, and guess what? They like that. Rather than having to trawl through it like a human connection like we do, or this page goes over there and we see it visually, they want to see it from a data point of view and understand where it all sits from a data point of view. And that's what a schema org does. Okay, I think we've gone through this section now. And rankings, as before, these are different. Let's have a look. This shows the top 10 key rankings, the specific location. This is the list of ordered by the keywords that drive the most traffic to your page. Okay, funny enough, Donkey Sanctuary drives quite a lot of traffic to the page. The Flickr Foundation is the second one. So actually, the bigger Donkey Sanctuary drives more traffic, or the keyword, when they type in Donkey Sanctuary, a customer types in Donkey Sanctuary, drives the most traffic to this page. The next one is their brand name. Next one is the Flickr Foundation Cornwall. So Donkey Sanctuary is pretty big for them. You would expect that, actually. Then this one is 10 keywords positions. In essence, really, you want to try and be up at these top levels. It would be perfect. However, you need content and keyword strategy in place to enable you to go up here. It's saying that most of your keywords are properly at this position. So that means that you actually have lots of areas that you could improve by considering what content engages with your audience, looking how they search for this, and creating content aligned to how they search. So that isn't your audit report, but your audit report is just giving you a flavour here and saying, you know what, guys, we actually could make a lot of improvements by trying to go up here. And that definitely will improve your search engine page rankings. Okay, we've done through that section now. Okay, so we're going to do another SEO opt-in report. Again, it's going to be on the wwf.org.uk example. So let's press that big yellow button. And this time we're going to look at the links section. So earlier we saw SEO on page. And the reason why we're going to go through the sections is just so you get a thorough understanding of how the SEO audit report is compiled. And hopefully the information is easier to resonate with. Let's go through. So the earlier course went through on-page SEO. Now we're going to look at the links section. So links are primarily other links to your website, but it also can be links referring within your website itself. So one page linking to the other. But the main area which helps you with SEO is typically backlinks, which is other websites connecting to your website. So let's go through, have a look. We saw that the other day. That was the SEO on page. And as we get there, God, it feels forever, doesn't it, when you're scrolling down? Here we are, links. So, domain strength and page strength. Domain strength, now the algorithms, they don't tell us 100% what they are, but really it just means how long your domain name has been around. So for WWF, it will be wwf.org.uk. That's the domain name. The quality of that, so what they mean is how many different links are coming into that domain, and the quality of the content of your website and whether it actually represents what you do. So do your web pages kind of, are they consistent in what your services are? Are they consistent in keywords that they use? What they're trying to check is that you're not kind of just coming up with random content, and it is related to the services over time that you're offering, or what you're talking about, or what you want to be an authority to talk about. And that specifically is on page strength as well. So you have domain authority, which is things like how long has www.org.uk been around for, and how many backlinks does it have, and what's the quality of those backlinks. The reason being is you can have different reputable websites that have a better score over maybe less reputable websites. And all that comes into an equation to give you like an overall score. And this one's doing pretty well, 89. Then you have, I believe it's out of 100, I might double check that. Then you have the page strength. This could actually do better. And this might be because their copy is not long enough. I know this sounds strange. I believe we went into SEO earlier. Let's have a look. See, they have a thing called thin content. Yes, amount of content is thin. This could indicate, and this is how sometimes the reports connect to each other, it could indicate that they've not got a lot of copy on their pages of their website, or it's duplicating because of maybe different languages used, and they do use different languages, or maybe because a way of analyzing data or a way of, showing multiple pages on a page. I'll explain this a bit more in a bit more clarity, I think. So page strength is, again, can be to do with the domain, but this is also as well the backlinks to particular pages. So pages within the website, the quality of those backlinks. So is it a reputable website or not, as well as what the content of the website is saying. Now, if you have thin content, this potentially could be impacting this. If you have bad quality links, it could be impacting this as well. So let's have a look. When it says backlinks, you typically will see this a lot higher. As you can see, 1.6 million versus the referring domains, because basically the domains just mean other websites. So if this is wwf.org.uk, that's a domain. Maybe Greenpeace refers to them. So Greenpeace would be one of these 33,000 odd numbers. Can't speak today, my numbers. Yet backlinks are the individual links added all up. So one page can have multiple links within there. So the domain is Greenpeace. Greenpeace may have multiple website pages that then link to WWF. That's why your backlinks you would expect to be higher. This piece, a little bit not that useful here, but it just tells you how many are a no follow. That means that 31,000 odd of that has no follow on their URL. It just means that they don't have to then trawl your website as well. They are keeping the analytics on their own website. And that you don't really want that much, because if you have a follow, it means that you're giving away some of your kind of, SEO juice to another company. So on some of these backlinks, you might want to come up with partnership with people. You say, actually, no, don't put a no follow on there, and allow those trawlers or those websites to come to mind and know what's just happened. So say Greenpeace links to WWF. You want Greenpeace to have their link to yours, and don't put in the text no follow. That means that then Google will go, oh, I can go and search over there. All the different robots can go, oh, I can go and search over in WWF as well. And it gives you some more power, basically, to go up the SEO rankings. So they do actually have a high no follow backlinks. And that could be for a multitude of different reasons. But that also could be indicating that they might want to create a backlink strategy where that is lowered. But then you would do that with trusted partners, okay? Because like I was saying before about the domains need to be a trusted domain. So you'd work on your content in a partnership with different people to agree what that content is, and maybe you send them a backlink as well. So you kind of, it's a bit of a, helping each other out to go up the SEO rankings. This is just telling you about the type of domains they are. So this is an educational one, 249 are from educational websites, 856 are government ones. Subnet's a really strange thing, but basically it's a little bit like a network within a network. Not that helpful here. And IPs are just specific computer addresses. So domain actually has an IP, which is a funny number. Not that helpful here, right? But quite tech gobbledygook. What might be interesting, and is interesting, if you want to try and create up like a backlink strategy, again, I think I might have to do a whole course on that one as well, where you look at what your partnerships are and you look at the different websites that are sending you links. And so this is interesting. What they're doing here is categorizing the most popular ones. So domain strength, basically, they're saying, you know what, this is a really good website, okay? It's good quality. They're not dodgy, so they get 100% score. As you can see at the top, WWF had 89, so it was out of 100. Phew. But here's worthwhile looking. So you've got your domain strength here, and they do it in quality of order. So this is the best quality at the top. Then the referring page. So what is the URL of the page that referred to you? This looks really strange, but it is actually Greenpeace. This is the title of the page that's referred to you. And this is the text they use to create that link. But if you wanted to, you could actually go copy this and go and have a look. And I suggest if you're trying to figure out a backlink strategy to go and do that, I would also, if you notice, this is May 2007. I definitely think that this, even though they've not got a too bad a score, what was it? They have A-. They definitely have areas of improvements on their backlinks, because if you think that content 2007, they start updating that content and this partnership. This is then telling Google, you know what, this content's up to date, which Google loves, and it's generating me a high level of backlinks. Wow, they're going to reward you even more. Okay. So this is something that is worthwhile, and it's a bit of a manual look at and feel, but you need to connect with your marketing strategy and what you want to do. You know, Greenpeace is obviously a great partnership with them. Let's carry on. The next one, and this one was a bit weird. It's a LinkedIn page, and it talks about, as I understand it, I didn't go through it all, about creating like zero emissions. And when I did a quick search, WWF is actually in a partnership to help companies on how you can implement a strategy of carbon neutral, if I read it or understood it correctly. So reducing their carbon dioxide emissions. However, yeah, it is, I think, an opportunity to look at content strategy, because this, I think, was another old piece. Yeah. Oh no, August 2023. So that's not bad, actually. For some reason, I thought it was an old piece. So this is then quite recent. It's LinkedIn, and it doesn't seem connected that much to them. But because maybe it's really recent article, or AKA this year, it's going to be on the high up. So this is feeding into you have more relevant content. Google's going to reward it a bit more. So if this is relevant content, can you imagine how fast this is going to go up the rankings? I'm not going to carry on looking through the rest, because this indicates probably different language, so I wouldn't understand what the hell that meant. But as you can see, you can check them all, and all of these are pretty good quality in terms of backlink. If you ever have anything really low here, then worry, or try and see how, I'm not sure how you can stop them backlinking, but that's not a great strategy. So then focus on strengthening good backlinks, because you don't have control over other people's website, but maybe there's a dodgy website out there. Or I don't know if you've ever known where you have free services. Some people say, oh, I'll create your backlinking strategy. It's not always the best quality. So it's something to watch out for, because that could actually impact your rankings on Google. So if you do have a low score here, just go and have a look and see what it is. And the best way to try and do it, if you can't get that link removed and it is low, is, in other words, Google doesn't think it's a good link, then actually try and strengthen your other links, or create a partnership with someone that you can actually link with each other. And they keep their content up to date and its quality. Okay, next one this is where it's telling you the top pages by backlinks. So what are the pages on your website that get hit the most? And for WWF, it's events. As you can see, it's quite a high number. And that definitely outweighs the others. And to be honest, I would kind of expect that. And it's a good thing, because it's showing they're using their content for those events. However, if I wanted to assure that I had, because WWF had thin content, in other words, they didn't have enough content in Google's eyes, I would use my events to create maybe even user-generated content with the other partners, or the other partners to talk about the events in a more elaborative way. That would create more content. But also WWF to create separate pages on each event, not just have an events calendar, for example. Actually create pages based on those events. Like, look, this was a day of everyone having fun at this event. Or look, this was, our cleanup day event. Actually create content around that, because that will help them go even more up the rankings, because you created new content which they love. And the links are more up to date. So you can link it from Greenpeace if that was one of the events, or maybe all the other partners that you had events with. So you have strong backlinks event strategy, which help you, and you have new content. So start as a content strategy for them to help with this and go up the rankings. I would say, oh, maybe we can look to see if we can create new content based on how well your event went, what people thought about it, basically create articles on it. I think that would be a quicker way to just say that, wouldn't it? But what you can do is always just go and have a look at the pages and see. So if you're ever working with a client, just, have a gander at those pages. Yeah, when I look at these, this is the great events page. But as you can see, it's a bit like a calendar, right? Just find out more. And there's something here which is called paging. Can't even say it. Pageation? Nope, can't say the right words. And I'm going to explain later why I'm pointing this out, because this isn't helping with their Google strategy or the SEO strategy either. And there's different ways around that, okay? Sometimes there's not. Yeah, as you can see, it's pretty much like a calendar, isn't it? To come off here. And if they had information, I know it says find out more, but if they had a bit more detail about, oh, this was a wonderful event, this is what happened, rather than just about what the event is, that would definitely help them go up the rankings. But it's pretty good, it's got a huge amount of backlinks, but you can always do more. That's the beauty of SEO, it's a whole journey. Right, and top anchors per backlink. Now, anchor is just basically a link on a page, okay? It's a word that's used. It's an anchor on a page. It's the words that's used to connect to that link. So it's what you visually see. You kind of have this crest hand symbol, something will be underlined, and typically you'll just click on it and it's a link. That's the text that's used. So what they're saying is the type of text that's used that most backlinks, so other websites like Greenpeace are using to link to WWF. The main one that's used is they might say, hey, go to the Greenpeace, and website is the one that's linked. As you can see, big backlinks. Then the second largest is developing a pilot to the UK natural capital stress test, IFCOM and WWF UK, May 2017. That's what I think the LinkedIn article, even though that got updated, was back in 2017. That's making a bit more sense. So I think the WWF piece was something back, in 2017, I think. I don't know. I'd have to research that. So that seems a bit of a strange title. However, that also is quite descriptive, isn't it? And I call this out is because we don't know explicitly how things are helping. However, if this wasn't just website and it had like WWF's website, I personally think it would be better because you're putting in your brand keyword, and keywords and SEO all need to be connected together, okay, to create a holistic strategy. So ideally, if I was going to ask someone to link to my website, I would ask them to do like this, www.org.uk, or animal welfare even with WWF. Something that's more descriptive, the website and the content it's going to. And that, I believe, will help you with your SEO rankings. I say I believe because the algorithms don't explicitly tell you. But I think it's all a really good strategy to put in place. And plus, it's also better. Another reason why I think it will be better to name it is if you have readers, they know where they're going. Instead of just websites, it would be like, oh, go to the animal welfare website or go to the WWF website. So if you're vision impaired and have a reader, it would read through that link for you. So it would be better as well. Right. And this is the top referring domains. So domains, again, just means like www.org.uk. TLD just stands for top level domains, okay? So that means it's either your .coms, it's your organizations, it's your educations, it's your .nets. There's loads of others that created, I think it was way back in the early 2000s, mid 2000s. And you could have things like .vodka, .music, .thing. They didn't really take off. And I remember when I was working for a rather big drinks company, someone asked me to spend a fortune when we was figuring out, or I was working or responsible, shall I say, for their strategy. And I refused to do it because I thought, no, it's not going to take off. I'm kind of happy I took that bet because it didn't. but you can still get them if you wanted to. That I digress, but this is just really giving you a proportion of where the main traffic's coming from. As you can see, it's color coded, and .com is your major one, and then organization is your second largest, .co.uk third, and then fourth is .net, and then other. Actually, no, other is the largest, isn't it? Sorry, second largest. That means it becomes from a different range. It could be coming from another language, like .es is Spain, .it Italy. Actually, .de for Germany, it becomes from anywhere really. And I don't believe it splits it down. No, it won't. Right, so the top countries, this is where the location of the people are, and that can be told by the website. You will put in like where the country of the website is. So mostly this is US, then you've got Great Britain, then you've got Germany. .co, I'm not sure what that would be. It'd be a company, and other, I don't know. I believe .co is a company. I should know that. I'll look that up actually and put that in notes. It also can mean that they've not put their country setting and the language setting on their website, which also can be naughty, but you can still get away with. Right. So top geographical locations, it's telling you top level domain name types, which are referring to your website. On page link structure. Now, this is what they're saying here is how you're structuring your links. Actually, it's here. Friendly links is not that great. On page link structure, what they're just saying, it sounds really boring, but we found 82 total links. 27% of your links are external links and are sending authority to other sites. So you know what, there's a bit of a link juice and you share with each other. Of the 82 links that you have, WW have, linking to other websites, to other external websites, they are not employing a no-follow, right? So that means they're allowing 27% of those other websites to get a little bit of the SEO juice. And maybe they have good partnerships with them, that they also want them to help them go up the Google rankings. And you can agree these with different companies to have the partnerships. It's bad practices to always have a no-follow on everything, I think, if you're in partnership with them. So when you can open it up, don't worry about these. These are all your internal links, and you would expect all your internal links to be follow unless it has a funny URL with like a question mark after it. So anything like this, I don't know if you remember, we had something like a page and it equal that. Anything like that is not great on here when it says follow, because it's not technical reasons. It's hard to explain, but technical reasons. And I'll go through in a little bit more detail. But when it's internal, don't worry about follow, especially when it has a unique URL, okay? Unique page URL, because you want that, because it's indexing all the pages for you. When it's external, you've got two here. I wouldn't know what that is. I'll have a look, right? Because I don't know what that is. Maybe I would put a no follow on that, because cookiepd.co.uk, giving consent to cookies. Bit of a strange one to have a follow, and I don't think you necessarily need that to have a follow on, because this is, don't know if you ever go onto a page and you get these really annoying pop-ups saying accept, don't accept your cookies. It was a European law that came in ages ago, again, like early mid-2000s, where you had to give consent to what a website tracks. Now, nearly everyone doesn't read the terms, so they just accept everything. I'm guilty of that too. Just because it's really quite annoying and it's baked into the terms and conditions somewhere of what they do. But typically you have to put it in place. So if you have Google Analytics, you'd have to have it. Well, you have to have it for all now, but there's any form of analytical tracking, be that for even changing the sort of the criteria of your web page. Maybe if you had a filter option, or if you're checking what browser they're using. All of that can be built into your analytics and how you code the website, and is normally bog standard in any website now, even if you're setting up in like a web content management system using templates, all of that is built in. So you would normally have your cookie pop up on every single website that you see. This one is using that consent, that line pop up, and actually giving some of their their juice away, their traffic to this pop-up. So this, actually, I might put to a no-follow, because it doesn't make sense. It's not someone I want a partnership with that I want them to take some of my SEO creds from, okay? Let's see if it shows us actually what it is. Yeah, cookie notice consent explained. So I wouldn't necessarily, I'd have that as a no follow. So this website is actually explaining what they are and why you need them. And then it probably is a tool to enable you to put it onto your website. So I have that as a no follow, and you can change that in the code. So wherever that link appears, in the HTML piece, you can get techie to, so you can just put no follow. Okay. This one, the one trust cookie consent, again, it seems like it's following. So I put that as a no follow as well. So that can improve their juice because they keep all the marketing information. So that helps. Right, last but not least, by the way, links can come across as quite technical, and it's an area that you might have less control of because it's mainly from other websites connecting to you, but you can use your content and your marketing strategies and partnership opportunities to build up better domain strength and connection with other brands. So this is the marketing piece and deciding who you want to collaborate with. Right, friendly links. So this is saying it hasn't got friendly links. All it just means is it needs to be human. So wwf.org. Then you might have something like, hyphens are very good, by the way, events. That is human readable. Again, for equal opportunities and people that have readers, they want to see it that way. But they also reward it for anyone to be able to understand the website they're going to. They want them to be nice and easy to read. Then it's going to give you a bit of details. Why? Do you remember the question mark on the page? It didn't like that. When we looked at their events page, I think it was, where was it? This one, let's go back. It had what they call that pageation thingy. I can't pronounce this. That's where it's changing. Now, actually with SEO, this is a nightmare. Even Google can't come up with a decision. It doesn't like that so much, this page thing. There are different workarounds around it, but you've only got you've got 20 up to 23 pages. And this is where it's saying the parameters is this question mark thing. It doesn't like it. It also means you can lose authority with Google, because what they are saying is that the content's so similar on each page, you're naughty and you're duplicating your copy. And that might not be the case, but that's what could happen, right? Because these are so similar in structure, Google might go, hang on, you've got 23 pages that are practically the same. Well, they've only got 3 pages here in instance, but I think it went up to 23 in some cases where it could do, by the looks of it. Then it's Google saying, actually, you are copying content. That's not great. Naughty people. So you could go down the rankings a little bit because of that nice feature. And that might allude to, do you remember they had think content up in your SEO section? Why they are still getting told off for think content up here? Because think content is, they're saying they count the average amount of words, but they count the average amount of words which are different, not necessarily duplicated. So you get penalized when you have duplicated copy or not a lot of copy. Or not a lot of copy compared to code, shall we say. And on this page, this is probably a lot of code and it's not a lot of written copy. So it's something I'd watch out for, because this has the major amount of backlinks. So this is also explaining why their page is not great, their page domain authority. See, there's better page strength because it talks about the quality of the content on that page. This page is structured quite technically and wonderful layout, but all of this is blocks of information, not content. And you've got all your backlinks driving here, which is wonderful, huge volumes. However, because they don't have content and they don't have descriptive content on there, their page quality's strength has gone down because they're not describing what those events are. They're giving lots of blocks. So that would probably explain why such a low score. If they could approach this in a different way, not look at the pages, give actually additional information down here maybe, which is a bit more descriptive, or even have this show somehow underneath when you click it, because this is the main page, that would help with the domain of the page authority or the page strength significantly. So I would look at a way and what might take you people to how I can restructure that. I'd have to look at it myself again. I haven't restructured those pages in a while. But this will probably really help them go up the rankings quite quickly, even though they are probably high up there. But, you know, it's a journey, as we say. So in this case, they're doing well. Underscores just means like this. You know, this is a hyphen. Typically now, they like to change to hyphens rather than underscores a lot of the time. Symbols, meaning that you are using the symbols if relevant or not needed. File names, a simple way of structuring things. Oh, confusion. But this is how it's all set up, that the path depth, so how many links to get to that page, and the length, so it's short, basically. So this you will need to work with your techies about how it's structured, especially when you have things like this. And you might have things like this if you're a marketeer. Have you ever seen like the UTMs? The UTM kind of, you have a campaign and it equals a certain amount. It's a way of tracking, and you use them all the time for analytics. So you would need to figure out how you use these for tracking, how you use them for sorting pages in a way that it doesn't affect your SEO too much. And my top tip is to use something like the Google Search Console. Tell Google Search Console what this is, and then that will help a little bit with your SEO as well, because you're telling them, hey, when I've got these pages, it's just for a page sort. Please don't tell me off. Please don't mark it as duplicated copy. That could be another option, but that goes into a whole new section. Okay. And also as well, I think we had it in on-page SEO, so you see how it connects. Chronicle, links. This is the bit where you have the question mark. So they are saying kind of sometimes what those pages mean. So Google, in some cases, is not counting. In some cases, it might be if they haven't set it up correctly. Okay, so they're not always counting it as duplicate, or they know which one is your primary one. You might use if you have language settings, you might use that if you have sort settings, you might use this if you have page settings, you might use this for tracking. God, I'm going a bit too technical now. Yes, this is really more something to talk with your key about how you improve this, and use something maybe like a Search Console, explain to Search Console, to Google, what these pages are for, and to not double count them. So not to see them as duplicated copy. Okay, that's it for now. Bit technical on that bit. The next one we'll go through, hopefully a little less technical. Okay, we're going to run another report again, this time with the example for the Flickr Foundation.org.uk. So this is the Donkey Sanctuary, and we're going to focus in on the links section. So we can start to make a comparison about how they're doing. So we can look at the WWF and versus this, and we can compare how the two are doing against each other. Just give you a richer understanding of what these different sections mean. So as before, it's nice and quick to run. You get an overall score, you get their recommendations, but I'm going to take you through what I think we can improve on what they're doing well at anyway. As you can see, the sections and where they are, where to focus. Now, D is not very good for them. So we're going to go through the link section and see potentially what we can improve, I reckon, with this one. So let's go down. We already did the on-page SEO with the earlier video. So now we're going to go through the links section. When we eventually get there, God, it feels forever, isn't it, when you're just scrolling? Or maybe that's just me. So, as before, backlinks, you have two different ratings, and color coded. You can probably tell that red doesn't mean very, not very good. Amber's not great. It's not medium. So you'd ideally want it to be green. Domain strength means, so Flickr Foundation.org.uk is your domain. So it means how long it's been around. So what's the quality of that domain? And it takes that from several factors. How long it's been around and how many different backlinks or other domains of a high quality are linking to that website. The page strength is kind of similar. It's also looking about what different links go to the pages and the quality of those backlinks, but also as well the quality of the content of your website. So the copy on your website, is it relating to the keywords potentially that people are searching for? So let's go through. You can see there's lots of improvements here. So I would probably discuss with them potential partnership opportunities in how we can get richer and stronger content. Backlinks, that's the amount of links that another website is linking to yours. Referring domains, that's just the specific domain name. So you would expect this to be lower because the domains like the flickerfoundation.org.uk, but say WWF was linking to them, that would count as one domain, but maybe they had 10 links, it would count as 10 backlinks. No follow, just different elements of your links. You need to actually investigate different linking maybe Google Console or something like that, to go and have a look and see what the different links are. Well, actually, it's Google Search Console. And no follow just means that there's the links that are following. Correction, the links that are coming to yours from other websites actually have a say no follow. So sometimes they are not actually helping you a lot because they're not giving you some of their SEO juice, shall we say. This is also the type that you have. So do follow. That's good. That means they are giving you some of the SEO juice, shall we say. Educational backlinks. You have none of them from this domain type, and there's none on here from the government domain type. Subnet's just a bit of a strange thing, but it's how things are set up. And your IP is your IP address. This indicates, because this they have this, normally it's a smaller company if they've got the IP address there. But don't worry about these kind of things. It's more about the quality of the link. So when you look at the top backlinks, it gives you the strength. This is what they mean by the quality. The higher the number, the better. You want that 100 is the top one. So as you can see, 94 is pretty good. This is the actual website and the link to that website is referring. And this is the title page it's referring to. It's a special auction for the donkeys, and that's the text that they're using. So that's where the link appears on their website, the title page of their website, and this is the text that's used to link. So actually the text could be improved because this website's not the best, but it'd be great if it was something like, you know, the Donkey Sanctuary website, or actually the Flickr Foundation Donkey Sanctuary, just because it just helps with the connection with the keywords a bit more. One thing I would note straight away, though you've got a great domain strength, is look, it's called archive. So it's good to have a visual view of these different links. This indicates that it's an out-of-date page. It also probably indicates why their ranking is so low, because they don't have up-to-date relevant backlinks to their website. That means that it's not copy that's live and it's not copy that's stayed up to date. Just Giving, that's a nice one as well. But as you can see, it's 2019. It's a little bit of update. So these are good links, but you want to assure that you create a partnership with them to get more up-to-date copy. So either for the first one, where it's saying a campaign, create a new campaign, but relevant today. For Just Giving, create a new Just Giving, but relevant for today or this year at least. And you'd have to, a lot of the time, it's worthwhile taking these URLs and just popping them into the browser, just so you can see what they are. As you can see, this is a nice page, actually. So it's quite easy for them to update it. There was an art auction. So if they had some art, which was current on this year, this would be a wonderful picture to update. You don't have to change the copy much, but you would just use the same, but just make sure it's relevant for today's date, or shall we say today's year. Just a bit more time sensitive, really. You don't have to do too much sometimes for those backlinks to improve. And it's worthwhile helping a company going through these different elements and saying, hey, can we just create copy here? Because this could get us up the Google page rankings pretty quickly, because there's already backlinks that we could use or already in place. And there's a word that you'll hear a lot, authority. So when those backlinks have a high quality and there's an authority, i.e. they've been used and now they're started to be trusted by Google, they've built an authority around that, they're good to reuse. So always ensure that your content and your copy with those type of links are always staying relevant and up to date. Top pages backlinks. So these are the pages that the other websites go to on this current Flickr Foundation. So where they link to the external websites, what are the top ones on this charities organisations that are the landing pages. So no surprise here, it's more the homepage is the number one with 547 links. However, I don't know if you can tell, after HTTP, there's no S. Now, Google changed the dynamics a lot, that you really do want your S after it. This just means it's secure. There is a certificate called a secure socket layer that is in place. And they put that there because when you give your data across, you enter information, it just makes it a lot more secure. Okay, so Google doesn't like it not having the S anymore. So I would try it and see if I can get my backlinks to update it to put the S in there. It does actually default. So if you used this, it does default to the HTTPS. Let me show you. So it's going to work. And I'll click back on here. You'll see the S is there. However, there's not specifically, and they don't do 100% how it's going to affect your SEO. I personally would want to try and update all my backlinks to ensure they have the S there, just to see how it does help the SEO rankings, but also as well to future-proof things a little bit more. It's also a good strategy to start re-engaging with those people and see what new content we can create. The donate page, that's a bit low. I'd also look at campaign opportunities to say, hey, can we increase this donate page? What other things can we do? What partnerships can we set up? This could be with other charities. This could be with local schools and fundraising. There's no right or wrong. An anchor page. Now, again, terminology rich. Anchor is just the piece of text, the word used on a page to connect to yours. So flickerfoundation.org.uk is actually used quite a lot. So say WWF, link to them, they would use on their website. So WWF has a page, their website. They would actually use a link called flickerfoundation.org.uk. It's 424 times that's been used. Another one, actually what I'd want to change is website. That's used quite predominantly at 191 backlinks. However, I'd probably try and want to have keywords in there maybe. It's nice to have URL because that tells Google again that your domain authority is quite strong. So it's okay to have the URL, but I'd also, instead of website, I might have something like keywords I would prefer, like donkey sanctuary or animal donkey sanctuary, something where it's helping to connect to the purpose of the website too, and my keywords, not just the word website. Because you can imagine quite a few people have that. Yeah, instead of visit website, it could be visit the Donkey Sanctuary would be a better one, or visit the Donkey Sanctuary's website. There's little tricks and tips that we don't really always think about when we do these backlink strategies. And because we don't own those pages, because it's another website linking to ours, sometimes it can be difficult. That's why it's worthwhile always setting up some trusted partnerships with people and using that as part of your content strategy going forward. As in with links, it tells you roughly where they came from in terms of the domain extension. So whether it's a .co.uk, so here's the majority at 110, whether it's a .com, so 102 of them, whether it's an organisation, whether it's just specific from the UK or others. Now, others could be anything. That you can have lots of different domains now. You can have .it, .vodka, .music. There's lots out there. So I wouldn't worry too much about the other or what these are. At the moment, I can't think of anything at the top of my head of how that specifically might help you. What is interesting, I find at the moment, is the countries. So you get an idea of where the countries are coming from. So some from the US, some from the UK, some from GB. And this number will differ. Like, so 107 does not mean, like the US typically have a .com extension, but you can use .com extension in different countries. There's no, I have to have a .com in Spain, or I have to have a .com in the UK or even the US. So the countries I find a bit more interesting because it tells you where that domain's registered. So you can, I find it interesting not because of where the domain's registered, but because you get an idea of the segments and the country of the people visiting you. So a lot from the US on this one. And yet it's a UK organisation. So it's quite interesting to see what that means then. Does it mean people are visiting that centre from the US? Does it mean it's just that the domain was registered from the US? I might want to investigate that a little bit further. Right, on-page link structure. Now, they are saying this is about whether it's a follow or not follow. So in other words, all through the pages where there's a link within itself and it's internal and it says follow, that's all good. That's telling the search engines, yeah, go and have a look and see where it goes and help that with my SEO rankings. When it's external, it depends if you want to follow it or not, whether you think this adds value. Now, this Twitter is they're probably owned because it's the Flickr Donkeys, and we know it's X now, but it's probably their owned channel. So I would follow it. It's an external link and I would follow it. Instagram, it's their social networking site, again, external link, and I follow it. Where I wouldn't follow if it's an external link that I don't necessarily know or own. So I wouldn't follow another charity's social networking site, but I would follow my own. Okay, let's see what's here. Show details, friendly links. Now, this is where they are easy to understand. And this one is quite easy, I guess, but it would have been nicer, like Flickr Foundation. But afterwards, easy to understand is stuff like this, help-center. Just so a human can easily see the meaning. And another way of writing it would be help center. However, can you imagine if you have things translated, if you have a reader, it doesn't always know what the separate words are. And the reader, if you remember, are for those that are visually impaired. So it's good to have hyphens like this. They might not like it. I'm not 100% sure, but they might not like that the flickerfoundation.org.uk is one word because it's saying file names. This is a bit techie, right? I wouldn't worry too much, but I would play about to see and do some research whether if it did have a hyphen, if it'd be improved. However, I wouldn't recommend or do it for this charity because they've already got their domain that's been around for a while. So they've started to create an authority around it. What I would assure is like how they've got good practices here, they continue to do. So contact-us, ways-to-help. I've got a feeling this file name and this X might be to do with their main domain, but changing at this late date probably won't help them. It could actually hinder them. Length just means you don't want a too long URL. And there's other things that they want them to be. Parameters. This is the thing where you might see something like a fun question mark after things. And you don't want, well, you do want that for analytics and tracking. And that's, that's really helpful for the marketeers to understand how successful campaigns might be. And for like the roles I've been where you understand your analytics and where people are going, the user journey, all that kind of jazz. So I love it. It can also help for experience. However, it's not always the best for SEO, and it's hilarious because Google even puts their own tracking in. So parameters normally can mean anything after like this question mark. They don't have it here, which might indicate it might not be such a sophisticated site in terms of the layout, and also as well that they don't have different campaigns driving to this website, which I'm not shocked about because they do have a campaign that was back in archived and back in 2017 or was it 19? So I'm not surprised that they don't have more kind of up-to-date tracking. However, that is doing them a favor here on SEO. And that's it now for the sections. So I will come back to you and we'll be going through wwf.org.uk again, just to look through the usability section. And we do the same again for this Flickr Foundation, so we can do a comparison and compare, and you can get a thorough understanding of the different sections. Speak to you soon. Okay, we're going to run the report again. Again, using SEO Optima, mainly just because I love this one because it's easy to understand. And we're going to go again for a charity, wwf.org.uk, and I'm doing this and I will do it with another website so you can start to make comparisons of the two, see where there are things where, for example, this website is quite an overall good rating, so you can see where there's still areas of potential improvement, and the other one that maybe not so good. But then you can do comparisons and you get a thorough understanding of how to run an SEO audit report, either for yourself, for your own website, for advice on someone else, or you just direct someone on what changes you may need and why you need them. And it just performs part of your overall SEO strategy. So today we're going to look at usability, and that's a -B. Now, I had a quick look at this earlier, so I might actually join it with the A+ performance section. Reason being is these two are typically quite connected together. Because usability could be, the mobile website is not loading quickly enough, and hence that could be a lower score, but it could be other things as well. So let's have a look. So usability typically means how it renders across different devices, how it helps with touch screens, those kind of things. And performance is the page load of the speed of the page and how fast it loads. But sometimes those different elements go across the two sections, and you'll see why. Okay. Usability, that's it, and -B. Now I looked at this, and this is one where I might go, hang on, is this correct? And you'll see why I'm not 100% sure. Now, they show and display an example. So this checks the visual, visually demonstrates how your page renders on different devices. This is important. The page is optimized on mobile and tablet. Now, definitely check this, but check this independently on different devices, because they're getting a good rating for how the images are resized, but it's showing in their image that the text might not be. Don't know if you can see that. See, look, this season of Goodwill is the perfect I don't know, I guess time. And then here as well. And also with a header, top tips for sustainable, or top tips for sustainable Christmas. This isn't too bad, this one on the bigger device, but it's quite a generic check. So look across your own major devices. And if it was I would look over your Apple devices, your Samsung devices. There's lots of different Android devices out there, but just try and go something like on screen sizes and get the mass majority if you can, unless you have a specific audience that you know uses specific screen type, then focus on how it might render on that. And you can use web content management systems now these days to show you a generic how it might be on mobile. But basically, go around and ask friends and people. That's the best test to do for a live site, just because different operating systems can change so much. You can get software as well, actually, out there to test it on these different things. But with Androids, I don't know if you know, the algorithms in the operating system changes quite regularly across the whole range of different devices. So Androids are like your Samsungs, your Googles, or the other ones I can't think of the top of my head, but anything that's not an iPhone, basically, or a BlackBerry. But I'm not sure how many people have BlackBerry now. So yes, you can get software to test across these different things, but it has to be updated so much because it changes all the time. So I would be a bit iffy about doing that. And I never actually even deployed it when I worked for a big agency because I was like, I couldn't see the value. If I was very honest, it's much better to get testers and different people visually looking at it. Or a good approach you could do is use like a Fiverr service or something like that, where there might be costs at lower price point with people with different devices. You never know, or providing that service to manually do it. Right, I digress. So in essence, this does not look too good, but test it yourself. Don't take the report as the ultimate truth. What is it? I can't talk today. Then it looks at the vitals. So it uses these reports pausing for Google. And Google is the number one search engine. Yes, there are others, and there's things like Bing. But Google, I think, has about 80 to 90% of the search traffic. So I'm always going to go there first. Honestly, I don't really check Bing. Maybe I should do, and that's a naughty of me, but I would check Google. So Google Web Vitals is saying it's not too bad. When it's all in the green, that's pretty good, right? But ideally this will be under 2 seconds. What this is really just trying to say is your largest section, the first part that gets delivered to a page, for it to be a readable or classed as a readable page straight away. And they're saying, oh, that takes 2 seconds. It might not. If you count it yourself, you'll probably find it's lower. And I'll explain why it might be lower than what they give you here. And this is just telling you use of mobile viewpoints, that you're actually informing the system in the back end that they can adjust to different mobiles. Most web content management systems do that now. They do it for you naturally. But they're saying the Google Speed Insight is not great. So this is where I'm saying, look, performance gets interjected to usability, because this is in the usability section. Yeah, it's talking about performance. So that's why I want to go and have a look at the performance section too and see if we can shed some light on this, because it's saying, hey, it's not really good for mobiles. But read this. Google indicates that your page is scoring poorly on mobile page speed evaluation. Okay, fair enough. It is 36 out of 100. Not great. You're in red. Note, this is the evaluations being performed from US servers, and the results may differ from an evaluation carried out from Google's PageSpeed web interface that has reporting localized in the region in which you are running the report. So this is a UK site, I would assume, or they have some form of UK server or hosting, or what's called like a content management system that hosts the information more local to the area that you typically would search. So because it's for the UK, you typically would want a UK server. So this is an instance where these results may be skewed. And I would go into Google PageSpeed and have a look what that has. It's a free service as well. And just start going through that. Maybe this indicates I need to do another course on the Google Page Speed Insights, because it does actually have an influencing factor on your SEO. However, the report results here may actually be skewed because it ran it from an USA server. So what that means is it's checking the results in USA. However, people are typically going to search in the UK where the server might be, so your hosting environment. In other words, it potentially will be faster because it's in the same location as where people are searching. So the results may be significantly different. But shall I talk through and see if I can give you some context? Let's see the value. All these different elements are very techy, right? You would just not want these going over 2. And a lot of them are. That time to interface, they're saying 13 seconds. This could be because they are testing it against a USA server. So it could have significant skewed results, but unfairly in this instance. So you would need to go into Google page, like it's Google Page Insights, I think. Let's have a Google Page Speed. That's it. Page speed. I'm trying to remember how we get to it for a particular page. It's typical. When you don't there, is it Page Insights? And you can actually type in the URL and use the device there. And I might actually do a separate course on that as to not confuse this at the moment. Okay, reduce, all this is quite techy. Reduce CSS, this is some technical things of where elements are, but not less than 1 second is pretty good. This is one's quite hard, time to interact. What this is really just saying is the page is not really usable quickly enough, not usable from a human's perspective quickly enough. It has a nice note to say that the page speed is significantly helps with SEO rankings, and it does. However, be very mindful that you're doing the right type of check. So in this case, you'd want to do a page speed check, but you'd want to do it in the area that your servers are or where people are searching. That is a big tip, actually. If most of your audience is in the UK, you'd want servers in the UK. If most of your audience in the US, you want servers in the US, or at least a form of enabling, of giving them that content, which is called a content management system in that area. Right, again, they're saying desktop's not great, but again, because I think it's running from the USA. They haven't used Flash scripts, an old school thing that us marketeers used to use several years back. I lost track now. It used to just make it look really funky and really cool, and it looked like moving images, but guess what? The technology is not great for SEO, so it got outstripped ages ago. So old school sites might still have this. Iframes used, again, it's an outdated technology where it's the ability to see a window within a window. If you've ever seen YouTube played on someone else's website, which isn't YouTube, that's the kind of thing. However, you just use more up-to-date language to connect to that. So it's like a window within a window. And all they're saying is iframe is an outdated form of referencing it, but they're not using it, so it's all good. Fav icon, this is if they had a picture up here at the top, like sometimes, there it is, sorry, a picture up here. SEO, so you see they've got the nice little logo bit there. I'm not thinking StairMite or page speed one that's got a nice little logo there, that's your fav icon. Email privacy, that's good. That means that anyone that puts an email address in there is not clear text, and it's protected in a certain form of way. So as you can see, look, robots don't go and crawl this information. Now, if you've ever bought lists, which is never a good habit, sometimes this potentially could have been where they've been bought and where they've been bad habits, and the data and the email addresses aren't protected when you enter them. Right, this is they've got an X on, but I looked at this, like all this page, always look down here. It's saying that some of the images on the page, and they will downgrade you for this, are not legible for different people. So say if you're visually impaired, it's probably too small. Or even people with me that I now realise my age, I have to squint a lot. This is the size of the font, which is quite small. But just look at some of the images. So this one is on this site footer. And it's about the copyright. They're saying that the copyright text is probably too small. In this case, just go and have a look on what they're referring to and see if it makes a difference to change it. I don't think, personally, because it is elements in the footer, and it's thinking about a trust banner, like whether you've got the trust icon, those kind of things, and copyright image. I'm not sure how much value it will be to change these from a user perspective, so I'm not sure I would change this, but have a look. And when there are images that are not just kind of like the footer or copyright, then it's maybe worth changing. But in this instance, I potentially wouldn't. Then tap target sizing. All this just means is, does your images change based on if you were using like a touch screen, like an iPad or an iPhone? In this case, they do. So clever them. And lots of web content management systems enable that as well now. So let's have a quick look at the performance and see how this might be connected. So usability, they got to kind of know. So it might be that text wrapping thing that was such a big thing, but I'm kind of thinking, would it be? So test it and see. Kind of had bad Google load page speed. can't speak today. And I think that's probably the issue that they're saying. However, look, the performance is really good. So I really do think that that is a misdirection on the page load speeds because it was run in a USA server environment, because their overall performance is good. So this is another check you can do when you get something like that. And look, all in the green. All in the green, all in the green. This just means your server says, yes, you're great. This just means the page content loads quickly and all the scripts, so the techie thing in the background loads really quickly as well. Download page speed, this just means how quickly does the page display on your people that are looking for your website and see it, how quickly does it display on their screen, their laptop. And these are the type of elements that your page is broken up into. So code is your HTML, CSS are cascading style sheets, you've got JavaScript on there, which is some coding styling, images, and some other elements. This is all really techy. There's not a lot that you need to know on there, apart from if there's things where it goes, actually, this isn't great now, like it's loading really slowly. You might want to look and see, well, if it's loading really slowly, are these compressed, right? Does this have a high level of compression? So images 0% compressed. Now, I might look at that, to be honest, but that might be because they were optimized before they were loaded up. But I might have a look at that because that could increase some speed performance. But I'd ask my techies to look at that. And then I'll try and understand what the other elements are. Some of these can't be compressed, or another term called minimized. And all it does is just make it go to the smaller form so it loads fast. Because if you think with images, they might already optimize. And what this means is that they're fine for web view, and they're a smaller file size that you've optimized it good for web view. But if you ever wanted to print it, because it's a smaller image, it wouldn't look great. So when we design images, we normally design them with print and then we'd reduce them down to go onto a website. Reason being, you just don't need them as high quality because you're not printing them out on paper or canvas or anything like that, or they're not being a big ban adder or anything like that, ban ad for marketing. Number of resources, this is elements of what they have. It's the breakdown of their site. So different objects, how many HTML pages, number of JavaScripts running, number of cascading style sheets, number of images, other resources. All of this is more techy, and it's only connected if you have page issues, I say, or performance issues. Carry on, Google Accelerated Page. This is if you have a mobile, there's an indicator whether it is, and Google likes you when you indicate that, and they're doing that, so that's good. Yeah, it's basically saying all good. Well, it's saying for the Chronicle tags it's good, but this, I'm a bit of a hit and miss whether I like this, if I'm honest, because it can display with have an issue with your display. So Web Content Management Systems enables you to optimize your websites. A lot of it now automatically does it. Google has another thing called Accelerated for mobile devices, but you have to tag it, enable a version. So think of the whole website and then a whole new version for your accelerated pages. Now, it can actually strip away a lot of functionality and niceties of a page that I personally don't use it because it feels like, have you ever had, do you remember the function rich phones where you just have the most basic layout as possible? It becomes like that. You've lost all your nice elements of it. And I think that it's much better to have a rich mobile experience because nearly everyone's on a website now, but just to make sure that you have enough performance in the back end to assure you've got the speeds there. So I actually wouldn't target AMP just because I think it's something that's outdated. It doesn't give a visual rich experience. When would I use it? Maybe if I had elements that just were like a must-have functionality, maybe a basic form or something like that. I typically won't use it myself now. So open to any suggestions of people who have used it and what they think. But when I've used it in the past, it just stripped away all the usability and the niceties of something that it was just a real basic form type page. And I didn't like it. And I've not seen or heard of it making significant impacts on SEO, but feel free if anyone's got a different opinion. JavaScript errors, there wasn't any, so that's good. That basically means the techie coding was all great. This HTTP2 also helps performance, and they've got a big tick. Again, this is where I think there's an issue where it's been run in the USA because they've got all the right performance things in here. This is just a way of performance being better. So things can run asynchronously rather than having to wait for things to run. So they run in parallel. Is that the correct thing? God, I have to check my terminology. They don't have to wait for one thing to run before another does. So they can run all at the same time, like together. I think that's the right word. And it's just a certain protocol to enable this to make it speedier and more efficient. Optimize images that they have done it. So, you know, when I sit up here, they probably optimized the images already, but they're saying zero compressed. That's because they did it before it's uploaded. These are sometimes things you have to watch on this audit report because they can contradict each other. But hopefully this is giving you enough insight so you are going to be a pro and a complete understanding. There's minification. So that just means when there is script to run, it's reduced down to the smallest kind of size that it runs efficiently and smoothly. Your techies will help with that. There's different tools to enable it and different environments that help you with that, especially things like HTTP2 protocol. Inline styles. Now, this is a no-no, but I looked at this earlier and I haven't really done much. I've realized I've misdepreciated HTML. Don't worry, this depreciated HTML is just basically out-of-date code. They don't have any. And when it says out of date, a lot of these codes still run. It's just there's better versions of it, okay? Inline styles normally means they've gone to like a page and decided that to override like a global brand style guide. And they've gone, oh, actually, I just want this word bolded or I want this word underlined. Now here, I'm not 100% sure how this is going to help. You'd have to look at it. So they're saying display non-visible hidden. Basically, there's an element that there's probably a hidden GIF for tracking. There's a background image and they've got a height piece here. This is all a bit techy. You'd have to look at their pages and see if there's any improvements to make. But because this isn't a big list, I would think this will make minimal improvements to your SEO. Unless you're loading this image up on every single website. But as you can see, it says page 596. You'd have to go and search where this is in terms of the line code. So what this means, above a page, each page is like a line, which counts as number 1. The next line will be number 2. So on line 596, this background image that is referenced, they're saying that they've put a specific style and it's on the page. So just have a look, ask your techie to look at that and say, what is it? Is it any worth changing it? Is there any benefit? If they had this on every single page on the website, then it might be worth changing it. But just this one? Nope. Okay, I will stop that for now. That all got a bit techy, but I wanted to give you some perspective of how the different sections of the report can interact with each other, but also as well how you can query the report yourself so you're not just taking the status quo of what it says to get a better understanding of whether actually any changes will help you or not and what to look at. So I hope that helped. I'll be going through this section again using the other charity, the Donkey Sanctuary charity, and we'll see that there's some areas that they definitely can make some improvements. Okay, so we're going to run the report, this time though for the Flicking Foundation, which is the Donkey Sanctuary in the UK. And we're going to do it again over the usability and performance section. Now, for this, they're not rating that well on either of those. So we'll get a better understanding of what elements can help with, basically give you a bad score. And actually, you could identify quite easily what to improve. So let's go for it. The Flickr Foundation. Come on, let's press that big audit button. Overall, their score's not that great. It's a charity site and it's a smaller one. So honestly, I expect the overall score not to be great because these are typically people that don't have the full-time tech resources or marketing resources or people on hand to make these improvements. So, if you ever feel like a good deed, feel free to do it for them, especially if you want some practice. I'm more than happy to be an extra ear when it comes to charities, but this is more if it's like a free service. I don't really kind of want to give options for payment. It sounds bad, but I think we need to give back as a society. Right, under the section usability and performance, we'd already gone through on-page SEO and our links. So if you remember links, probably they really need a bit more of a marketing lens to consider what partnerships they might need to identify to improve those links, to create like a partnership of communicating and talking about articles with another charity maybe. Okay, so we're going to go onto, I digress again, onto usability and performance. Talk to yourself while we go through this bit. I have a bit of elevator kind of noise going in my head when I wait for these to go through. Okay, come on, usability. Feels like it's the longest report when you go through this. Okay, links, now usability. Again, SEO Optima for me is just one of the easiest tools to use. There are other ones out there, and feel free to ask me questions on them, but they get a lot more complicated and look a lot more techy. Right, usability is a C. Typically, 9 times out of 10, it's always whether it renders well on other devices. So whether it renders well on mobile or tablet devices. And a lot of the traffic is starting now on mobiles, especially on search. And as you can see, the representation on the image is definitely cut off. So the Flickr accredited, see, you don't have the full title, the Flickr Foundation. Same with that on a tablet device. Now, again, as we do with the other site I recommended in the other course section, just make sure that you do test with other people in terms of their devices and seeing how it renders in a real world scenario is my best advice on this. But you can probably tell it's not great. So check it out on your mobile and check it with some other people. Right. They're not doing too bad on some of the Google Vitals here. They are, where it says viewpoints, they are putting in the ability for elements to render correctly on different devices, or identification of those different devices to supposedly render correctly. However, I've got a feeling this site might have been designed a while back because none of this is optimized for mobile view. And that definitely could be the case, especially with a smaller charity. I also, when I look at things and the performance, might say it might be better actually building this site in another environment. And that doesn't mean you have to start from scratch, but I might try a newer hosting environment because it might put a lot of the stuff that they're having issues with regards to performance and fix them automatically with the new technology. Right. Google Page Speed Insights now, it's got a low score of 20. Again, all pretty techy. If you wanted to, you could enter the information into the page speed, and it's even more techier. So you can have a look if you want. Let's go and see. And it's even more techier when it analyzes bits. But if you were talking to a technical person, so this is the mobile site, as you can see, it goes down and gives scores area and gives information. You can click on the different areas and what they think. This is worthwhile for a techie to look at because they then can go, this could potentially be improved here. I had a quick check earlier and I've got a feeling it's their images they need to improve things on. But let me go through this report again. Well, that's thinking, and I might show it to you quickly. But as you can see, this is just the time and savings that they, estimated savings they think of what they can improve, and these are times and values currently now. Right, Google Page Speed Insights, this is for desktop. Again, they've not got a great score. Again, you'd want to take you to look at all these different things and what they can be improved. Flash, they're not using it. That's out of date information, so that's great. iFrames, they are. And when you click on these different things, there's always additional information given to you throughout the report. So just run it and have a look. Remember, when you have a free version, you can only run one day. But then again, you could just wait for the next day and run it on another site. So iFrame is basically out-of-date tech, right? It's what we used to use a while back when we wanted a window to display within a window. So when you ever see a YouTube video on someone's website page, which isn't YouTube, so say if it was the Donkey Sanctuary and they have a YouTube video playing of the donkeys in the field, but it's actually on their website, they could have used an old school iframe to do that. But now there's new technology to enable them to use different, more up-to-date coding standards. So that would need to be changed. And the reason why iframes are not good is one, Google can't actually search them that well. So one, it doesn't help for your SEO because it can't search in there and understand what's going on. But another primary thing, which Google ranks you on, which is your usability on mobiles, they kind of reward you a lot now because everyone searches via mobile first. Everyone uses their mobile to look for everything. Iframes don't display correctly on it. So that's maybe what's going on the front page. I don't know. You'd have to look at their text and see maybe this is an iframe and that's why it's not displaying properly. Might not be as well, but we don't know. Okay, so those are the bits we look with the techie, I guess. And Favcom, this is this nice little image. So they're using it in their site. Email privacy, that means that they basically don't have a form when you enter in your email address that is plain text. It's all protected. So naughty people like scrapers can't go and get it and reuse those lists on like a black market or something. So never buy lists is my top tip, because you never know what you'll get. And because of things like GDPR rules, you can get fined quite heavily. Right. Legible font sizes. This just means, is it easy for fonts to be able to be seen? Or are they too small? And then when you tap on the more information, you get to see font sizes it doesn't like or why it doesn't like it. So that says social feed, post footer, 10-point size is not too bad. It's smaller than your 12-point font. This isn't too bad. I doubt if you change this, it'll make a significant impact on your SEO. And because it just says blank object, it's probably using things like a footer that you don't want primary real estate anyway on your web page. But you could have a look. Then tap targeting size. This just means, does the images and the spacing look good and change based on if it was a mobile device, an iPad, where you touch the screen? So is it spaced out enough so you can touch the representative button that you need? And they're getting big tick for that. And that's because a lot of systems do it automatically for you as well. Performance results. I'm going to go into this as well because a lot of this can be connected. And again, they've got a bad score, a D+, so they definitely can have some improvements. This again might indicate to me, as they've got such a bad kind of mobile view, that they need to recreate their pages again on their website in a different hosting environment or hosting tool to enable all the automatic optimization to happen for them, so that without little effort. So there'll be a migration effort, yes, but things should automatically update with new coding standards. Right, so I digress a bit. This is a little bit iffy, but again, it's all techie. So the time the server, wherever this is hosted, responds. The page content loading, so that's under 5 seconds, that's good. Mind you want that a bit lower. 2.7 is still a bit high, actually. And 8.3 seconds here, all page scripts loaded. This is all the stuff happening in the background, and it might not be needed, and it visually might not be seen by the person seeing your page, but there probably could be some improvements there, even though it's green. Download page size. This is basically, think about how long it takes a page to fully download to a person's website. And this isn't good in terms of the sizing and everything like that, because if it's a big size, it will take a long while for that to download. So they'd want to look at that. And there's loads of different ways, and your techies would need to look at that and how to optimize that site. Again, a new hosting environment and different plugins and tools might enable that to happen a bit easier, so you don't have to spend loads of money with a techie person. Little tips and tricks, things like changing your hosting environment. If you're on WordPress, like WP Rocket's really good. Does all the stuff behind in the background, and you don't need the techie person to do it, and you get immediate performance results. But hosting environment could be a thing as well, which I'll talk about in a minute. But where you see they've got a high page size, so 7 megabytes, and this is all purple, there's 5 megabytes of that as images. So I'd be going, hang on, what's happening with your images? Are you optimizing them before you upload? Which means, are you making them the smallest size possible, but still easily viewable via a website? And it only says 1% compressed. Now, you don't 100% know if that's true, because they might compress it and then you've gone online or that. So that would be something to look at, especially as it's such a big factor of the page. Another thing I'd want to look at is my JavaScript. It says 73% compressed, but it's saying that a huge amount of the pages are JavaScript. Now, JavaScript is a techie way of basically doing a bit of code on a page. So maybe there is a better way of structuring this. Again, I'm starting to lean to maybe I'll put it in a different hosting environment so I don't have to pick all my pages apart, but I'll just get better performance via a different hosting environment and maybe a different web content management tool. Don't need to know too much about these things, but this is telling you how many resources there are. And where it said there was JavaScript, there are a large amount of resources, which might mean there's some simplification that can happen here, right? Maybe there's some out-of-date code, it's not needed. Maybe there's some archive pages where this doesn't need to load for everything now. A techie would know more. Right. Google Accelerated Mobile Pages. This is just for something where it's specifically for a mobile site. I haven't seen a lot of improvements with overall holistic website. And plus, I don't particularly like it that much because it can change my layout, my style. However, it depends on what you want to do and if it's worthwhile or not for the website. So if you don't mind a less sophisticated layout and you just want a box standard kind of, I don't know, boxy and form looking type pages, I'm probably not doing it very much justice, but that's how I found it, then this is worthwhile. And especially worthwhile for it's, everything has to be done on mobile. But just think of the user experiences sometimes as much as your style that you want to interject. So think of the trade-offs. I haven't seen a significant improvement in this yet, and I'd probably look at trying to improve my performance in other ways for the mobile pages. This was introduced a while back, actually, so I've got a feeling it'll start to get phased out because there are technologies that replace things now. JavaScript errors, there isn't any. This is the bit that I think that probably I would change if I'm them. HTTP2 protocol, so Hypertext Transfer Protocol, blah, 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 version 2, means that there's now a smarter way for your hosting environments to host your pages, basically. And older school ones, well, not older, currently relevant, some current hosting providers, I think iPage, GoDaddy, even, I'm not 100% sure, don't use HTTP2. Yet, this enables better performance improvements. So there are other hosting performers like SiteGround that do use this protocol. It's more up to date and enables a better way for your page to get loaded faster. So if I was this charity, and I know that they've got, and there are other ones out there that aren't SiteGround, by the way, I would probably say, hey, let's change hosting provider. That's quite a little effort. You can get really low cheap costs. I think SiteGround offers like $2 a month or euros a month. And it can actually help them with their page speed performance significantly quickly and get them up the rankings without having to do all those technical jargon looking at the pages. So that's probably would be my number one priority for them. Optimizing images is actually something they are. So maybe there isn't a problem yet. You can get different styles of images. You've got JPEGs, you've got PNGs, and there's this other style, I think it's called Web Type 1, WebP. It's a new protocol, but not all browsers are compatible with it. And I would watch that, and I would watch sometimes two newer protocols when it requires your user to have that browser. And I say this especially for charities. I don't mean to group them. I do quite a lot of charities and on some board of sounds. They sometimes can have a more older demographic in some of their websites. And that's how a lot of their websites are still designed visually for that older demographic rather than a newer demographic or younger generation, shall I say. That being the case, they're not always going to be pressing browser updates to get the latest version. So anything that's dependent on the customer side, so the customer viewing, be mindful of who they are and what they typically would do before you put anything new in, like potential different image types that require the most latest browsers. Okay? I keep digressing, don't I? Minification, this just means, are you streamlining the different codes, so your JavaScript and your cascading style sheets, to be optimal as possible? But also as well, you applied a tool called minification, which is like part of a protocol that some of your hosting environments do it for you automatically. Or you can get plugins or tools to do that. So like gone are the days where we have to sit down with a techie and figure out every line and get them to optimize it, because there's new services out there all the time that will do it naturally for us. And even though I come from an old school techie that used to be able to write everything down code by code, it's just a waste of time and money and energy, in my opinion, because there's too many other new plugins out there, too many new hosting environments. I wouldn't do that. Unless I had the most premium website with the highest amount of traffic, I could never let it go down. It's fundamental, it stays up 110%. Yes, then I'll play all the coders in the world to make sure it's the most optimal, and I can tweak it to the 110th degree, but not when it comes to someone's standard website. And, I've worked on websites that do have those hundreds of thousands of views and millions and sometimes, and I still wouldn't go there. Hey, but, you know, I think, but then I'd pay for the right hosting environment, shall I say. Other hosting options, you can get expandable with things like AWS, so Amazon Web Services, but you have to pay for it a little bit. And it just depends, say, for this case, whether the charity would have the money. I wouldn't suggest it. I would suggest a hosting provider that had the HTTP2 protocols to that one. Depreciate HTML. This is an indicator again that I think their website's a bit old because they're using old school HTML, inline styles. This means that they've gone onto the web page and they've changed the color or text or a particular word or something like that, instead of letting the cascading style sheets do their job. Cascading style sheets are a bit like a global brand guideline. And if you click here, you can see on which ones it happened. It's not giving you a lot of information, but this is an indicator. If it's this kind of uncommented lack of information, it might have been designed a while back, because I'm not sure what is going on in this page. I'd want to investigate a little bit, probably to do my own quality assurance. Don't know the words, nearly there. Okay, so I think we're done on this one. They definitely have some improvements to make, and I personally think that hosting will be their big one to improve their performance rating here, but also potentially their usability if they also consider maybe what content management system they're on, because these kind of things shouldn't really happen and you would want things to be a bit better. But I put them into new hosting environment, then see what I do about my web content management system. Okay, that's for this one, the Donkey Sanctuary, and then we'll be going on to the socials areas in our next course. Okay, back to our SEO Optima report. We're going to do this again for the wwf.org.uk. To press the big yellow button, and this time we're going to look at the socials section. So this should actually be the last category that they give the specific rating to. So overall, we know that they've got the A rating. The socials is A+, so it's pretty good. Let's go all the way down and have a look and see if there's anything that could potentially improve or we want to continue to do to assure we get the good rankings. Okay, let's go down. It's quite a big report, isn't it? Now we get to SEO socials. Now this looks at the different social channels that your website's connected to and the style of those connections. And I'll explain that through the report and what I mean. So they get a good, they've got an A+, knowing that that little bar, extra bar here, actually means they could go A++ and then wonderful. Right, so Facebook Connect, they have a Facebook social network on their website. Now, Facebook graph tags, this is a bit of a misleading name, in my opinion. Basically, what this means is if you ever seen like when you retweet something or reshare something, there's already an amount of format. It's already formatted what you're going to reshare. This is really what the open graphs do. It enables you to set when they share something, you assure that the elements of what they share are already there. So you have your picture or you have videos or things like that. And they're saying it's a good thing to do. And maybe WWF would be good with this if they use it on their events kind of chart. And we might actually look at that page, not chart, that page, because if they reshared an event on Facebook, so say they go to an event page and they're interested in running or something like that, and then they share it using a Facebook link, you would want to use something like Facebook Open Graph tags to enable that information to pre-formatted for you. So you get the event information that you want to be shared automatically displayed. They're saying they're doing it, but I don't think the site actually does it throughout, especially on that event section. As you can see, it also tells you the details of where they're currently using it for the homepage. So they're using it, looks like, on their main URL. So if we use it on events, it'll be good. Facebook Pixel, now this is just a way of re-advertising. So say if you go to your website and then they go to a Facebook page, they can then identify them on Facebook. When's this going to help? If you ever do Facebook retargeting, they go to a website, and if you notice, if you go to a website, then you go into your Facebook page, you then have an ad for that website. That's exactly what this Facebook Pixel does. You need to install a little piece of code on every single page of a website for that to work. And some websites actually don't have it on every page. Facebook recommends you do, but sometimes you don't always need it, right? You don't always need it on your terms and conditions, maybe. or your privacy policy. That might be a bit of a strange one to have it. But you might want it on core services or things like that. The reason why you do it is one, it helps with the advertising, but also as well, it's more for your socials than SEO, I would say. You start to, Facebook enables you to do this when you do like ads or things like that, to do lookalike audiences. So if you know the people that go onto your website and they've been on Facebook, they will find similar people that went to your website in their Facebook audience. So you can use the information they gathered via this tagging system to enable you to get a bigger reach when you do a Facebook ad. And actually, it's not just Facebook. That lookalikes would go across the different channels that the Meta business own. So that's your Instagram and your WhatsApps. And your actual messaging, so your Facebook Messenger as well. These are other things I can think of. They keep taking everything over. I think that's it. Right, Twitter Connect just means that the Twitter, now named X, is connected on a social networking site. So they have that little icon on there. And Twitter cards, same like Facebook graphs, it's pre-formatted tweets. So if you want to share an event, say for WWF, they have the event about running, come and run for our charity, and you have a share button on there, you would want them to have that information pre-formatted. Actually, let's go and have a look. Might make it easier so you can understand it. I'm all about visual learning. wwf.org, or was it .uk? Yeah, and events. Typical, hand it up there. Let's just go to the events one. So I would assume they have events on here. So to find out more, hopefully they have a share button somewhere. Yeah, share this. So this is your X, your Twitter, this is your Facebook. Now, when it goes on this, it's not automatically populating the information. It's not great. Actually, I would suggest that they improve that. Let's see if it automatically pops the information for Facebook. Sorry, why it's always going on my profile here. It does a little bit. Survey half marathon. However, with Facebook graphs, they can make them multimedia. So you could have images, you could have videos. So it is worthwhile looking at that because this information will help with the awareness of your brand and the awareness of the event. But there's no right or wrong with these things. And it's really, I would actually especially look at formatting those things, especially with their Twitter, because that was kind of a lost aspect when it was sharing. It wasn't even copying over the URL of the event. So I definitely would look at that for them. Mainly because it helped drive awareness, and then awareness naturally starts to help visits to your website, which in turn will help your SEO. Instagram connected, they're just saying that they have their Instagram profile connected on there. LinkedIn is also connected. YouTube is also connected. And now they rate the YouTube activities, the amount of followers and the view count. So I don't know the explicit algorithm for the number of followers, but I would say something over 1,000 they might say is good. I don't know if I'm really honest about what they would do in an SEO report and what's good. But Google is going to like you to have SEO, YouTube. The reason being is you have YouTube search and you have SEO Google search, and both of them actually sometimes intertwine with each other. So it's well worth looking at your YouTube strategy as well. Now, YouTube used to be something that was a bit laborious because people thought, oh, let's create quite professional videos. But now with the release of YouTube Shorts, it can be a bit more user-generated content and a bit faster, and dare I say it, a bit less quality because we're just doing things a bit on the go. I also, though, caveat this, I find the algorithm quite hard to win on for YouTube. So play with your socials. If YouTube, and say, I would say with WWF, they have an opportunity for definitely YouTube, especially as shorts and especially for events and user-generated content where people may be doing a quick YouTube short event while they're on their run or their marathon. So it is something I would look at if I was going to, for this charity. And you may say, well, socials is an SEO, and you're right, but if you get enough traffic, it drives awareness, and why awareness drives traffic to your website. But also as well, slightly more different, YouTube itself is part of Google. So sometimes those algorithms can intertwine. So I would be mindful of assuring that if you can use YouTube, and it is a good strategy for your company, it might be something to consider to sometimes help with your SEO. Local SEO. I think I'll go through that in another course or another video, so we're not going over everything a bit too much because I digressed slightly when it comes to the socials. Okay, in the next video, we're going to go through, again, the donkey, can't say this way, the donkey sanctuary, so we can check out their socials. See you in the next course. This time I'm running our SEO Optima report for the flickerfoundation.org.uk, so the donkey sanctuary. And again, we're going to look at the SEO section, the socials section of the SEO report, so we can compare and contrast to the wwf.org.uk organisation. Now, this is a smaller charity, so I would expect a lot more things wrong. Sounds kind of bad and kind of judgmental, but I don't mean it that way. When they're a smaller charity, they don't have the resources to dedicate to this. And as you are probably learning through these courses and these sessions, that there's a lot that can go on, right? And I've done it for 20 odd years. So in my mind, it might seem easy, but with someone that's kind of new, they're trying to learn new skills for a charity, this isn't something that they're going to get their head around really quickly. So if you want to pay it forward, do some nice free work for charities, but also as well, it could help you get used to using these tools and seeing what areas of improvement and performance that you can then turn it into a job for other companies. This is my plug. Can you tell I do love giving everything forward in charities? I think you give what you put out. Right. You give what you put out, you get back what you put out. That doesn't make sense, does it? Right. So they have a B- social score. Not too bad. Overall with them, these are definitely their performance. So I'd look at their hosting and the links, their backlinking strategy. So other partners that link to them. It's definitely areas of improvement I would focus first. But let's have a look at their socials. All the way down. Let's get there. Are we there yet? Nope. Right. Socials. Now, this is a B-, and let's look at why. So they've got their Facebook connected. So they have Facebook social networking site linked to their website. So normally, a lot of the time, it's just a little icon graphic at the bottom. They have the Facebook graph tags. Now, this is your pre-formatted type. So you know when you might share on your social sites and you forward a tweet or an X, don't know if you'd call it an X now, not a tweet, or you forward like a Facebook post, it forwards the element that was in there initially, right? So you see the initial content of what the creator had. Now, if you were pressed a button with just Facebook Connect, this just takes it to their social site. If you press a forward, you probably want to use something like Facebook Open Graph tags to enable that default of the image you want to show, or video or other type of media. So it's good they've got it, okay? It doesn't tell you much, but these are the areas it has it on. This is the type that sometimes you might want to check specific pages to see what's happening on their socials. But I'm going to go through that, I think, in a different section. Mainly because your SEO report goes through your homepage and it does trawl multiple other pages, but you might want to run an SEO report on specific popular pages, especially if you're going to try and drive content to those pages, or drive visitors to those pages via new content, shall I say, or via partnership strategy where you're creating backlinks. And I say that because even though these reports are holistic, there are specific sections that might dive onto a specific page. Now, what I might do is I'll probably create another course on that, or another section of the course, or another video, shall I say, that just explains that. I know I can definitely show you for WWF, and I might see if I can do it with Flicking Foundation. I know there's a good example with WWF, so we'll probably do that. Again, I digress. So they don't have the Facebook pixel. That means they don't do that for Facebook ad retargeting. To be honest, I'm not a huge fan of it because I get so fed up of looking like I'm seeing ads of the different websites I've seen. My profile's so messed up that they don't know who I am. And a lot of marketers have to do it for research. I don't know. I question the value of these things. I have had to do them for very large organizations. I don't always think they're as sophisticated as they make out. And I don't like it that they're constantly giving me the same information again and again and again. And I also don't like it looks like it's tracking me. So I wouldn't think Facebook pixel ads retargeting necessarily helps with your SEO, but can help with your ad impressions, building an audience to better target your ads maybe, and for social awareness. But again, I'm slightly dubious about using it because I feel like sometimes we're a bit Big Brother and it can seem a bit like you are being Big Brother and watching people. And plus, Facebook owns the algorithm around that, so they can change it all the time. So you won't necessarily always get the best results. And I can sometimes find, God, I seem so anti now, don't I? I don't mean it that way. Facebook ads can work potentially if there was an event, because Facebook is very good with events and managing events and building a community there. So that could work for that. But just be mindful it doesn't slow down your website if you're putting it on every page as well. Right. Okay, I digress. They've got their Twitter connected. They have their Twitter cards. Now, the Twitter cards is, again, like the Facebook graph. It creates a pre-formatted tweet to send. It's like when you do your share, you're sharing the other person's tweet, so it's got the same format and the same content. This is what you're doing when you say share a post. You share it with this format and content. Now, in this case, they're not using it. So that means when they share an element via Twitter, there's not going to have the predefined content on there. Now, actually, they might not have pages that have that, so it might not make a difference, right? But I personally do it because it's a nice user experience. Otherwise, you're going to get a blank tweet or blank X. I'm not sure politically how we're supposed to name these things now, with nothing on it. So it could be anything. It's not really that helpful, and it's not really going to drive any social awareness to your website. Instagram, they're connected, which is good. LinkedIn, that's connected, which goes to your LinkedIn company page for this charity. Your YouTube's connected, it goes to their channel for this charity. And as you can see, it doesn't like the activity because it's low. They've only got 36 followers. And it's more follower base than view count, I believe. I would assume that over 1,000 is what they'd like, but I don't 100% know that algorithm number. And it's one of those that it can change all the time. And I find YouTube search quite a hard algorithm to crack, if I'm honest, because they update it quite frequently. And I don't know if this is skeptical, is that the right word? I do notice it's those that might pay for advertising seem to get better rankings. So, yeah, maybe it is very skeptical. God, I need to figure out my wording. All right, so that is for the social sections for the Flickr Foundation charity organisation. And we'll go through these other sections like local SEO and I believe the technical results, which are not interesting, and a little bit on the child pages in our next video. So our next video for this course. So see you in a little bit. Oh, and again, we'll compare it with wwf.org.uk. Okay, we're going to use SEO Optima again for wwf.org.uk. This time we're going to look at the last sections of this audit report. So it's actually not the sections that have been graded here, but it's additional information at the bottom of what's been searched and how the website itself has been set up. So what page has been searched, child pages, and how it's set up. So it's none of these sections anymore, but it's the bits at the bottom to give you some additional context. Sorry, I should mention local SEO, which actually really does work if you have a physical office or branch, okay? So I'm going to explain what I mean when I go into these sections. So, it should be called local SEO. That's it. Local SEO. Now they have an X. I completely expect this because this is a worldwide wildlife fund organisation in the UK. Unless they had a physical branch or service, I would expect this as an X, because this is a kind of a way of the website knowing that you have a physical entity, and they don't, so they wouldn't have it. But if you had a shop or maybe a charity that they might have in the UK, a charity shop in the UK, then potentially they would use this if it has a physical address. So you don't have a schema. In other words, Google hasn't been informed that it has a local physical address. You don't have the information of the local physical address and contact details. So you can see profile information, and it will trawl it automatically from your URL, but also as well, it can pick up information from a Google business account. And this will probably make more sense when we look at the Donkey Sanctuary, and you can see how it's been entered in there. So what I might do is we might do contrast compare quite quickly so you can have a look. It also wouldn't have local Google reviews. So your local SEO helps on 2 counts. It helps on your Google map. So when you're searching for something, it's got a location and area, and it helps with local in-country or area searches. Now, this actually changes the results on the Google search pages. If you have this, if they're searching for a location or something, or a named place, which might be like a retail shop or things like that. So it is very worthwhile if you have a physical bricks and mortar store to have this. But this one hasn't, so it doesn't make sense, right? Unless it had a charity shop, maybe it would do. The section called technical results, this is basically listing how the website is defined and the elements it's used to serve that website. So it's got things like Amazon Web Services that they use. To what level, I don't know. It's got a cloud, it's got Google Tag Managers. You don't know all the detail. These are just elements. This might be worthwhile when you're talking to techies so they have the information. Talks about your IP address. Your IP address are just the numbers associated with wwf.org.uk. So each of these human names have an IP address around next to them. Your domain name servers is where your wwf.org.uk is registered. So web server, it's just the name of it, doesn't mean much. The character set also doesn't mean much. Not unless you're techie, to be honest. And I would try and explain it, but I will fail miserably. The review child pages, these are the different pages that fall after www.org.uk. So, as you can see, events is one of them. But also what I would look at, and I find quite interesting, is this, see the question mark afterwards, the page equal 1, the page equal 2. This to me is indicated these are quite popular. But I know that these kind of sort the events. So let's go and have a look. And this is an area I might look at to improve their SEO. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Oh, this is a giveaway that it shows you that you can actually run an SEO report in those specific sections. I love it when I make mistakes. Hopefully it just took me back because I want to go and find the URL. Right, so then we go and push it. This is an area I think they might be able to improve their SEO. Reason being is Google treats this as a separate page, but because this information might not be a separate page, it might just help with sorting and pages. As you can see, equal page 1. It probably means that they can go through different pages. And this might change if I had page 2. Let's have a look. But do you see the images stay the same? And the content is roughly the same. What they've done is they've designed this that they can have multiple pages should the content on there increase. Yeah, so it can go across, or it could be different devices that you want to say, oh, I want to see page 1 of this now, I want to see page 2 of this. And this will be specifically, well, for their Christmas by the looks of it. But say if you had events and you had multiple events showing, instead of having to be a big list that you scroll down, you would carry on. See more next. Ah, here it is next. And it more would be your next page. They're talking about the facts down here. But the top elements stayed the same. Now, that's not good for Google SEO. The reason being, even though these are different, the majority of your page sees like it's the same, right? So Google's going, hang on, are you just trying to trick us by duplicating content? And then they tell you off a little bit. So this is an area I might go, yeah, it's pretty popular. Can we improve this or structure this in a different way? You would have to work with your techies to try and understand this. And there's a load of different ways to try and look at this and how you do this, including like Google Search Console and explaining to Google Search Console what the hell these means. And sometimes not to double count them all the time, because double counting them, it doesn't like it and it's duplicated content. Or instead of this carousel with this question mark thing, you change it that these are like just specific pages like this, and they link to URL somehow or some way. There's lots of different options. Okay, let's go back to this. But I definitely would look at that for them, because that could potentially improve things and create new opportunities or search areas, because you start seeing what pages people are interested in. You see this page 1 doesn't mean much. because the content's too dynamic. Yeah, if you had it more specific, you know it's actually the tigers that they're interested in more. And then you can start tailoring campaigns to focus on people that were searching for the tigers, or it might have been the bears, or it might have been the elephants. So it'd be worthwhile looking at what people are searching at and getting more insights with how you structure basically the web page. So that would be a techie thing. Sorry, I digress a bit in technical terms, but when you've got anything with a question mark like this and it's high up in the results, always ask your techie, what is it doing? Is there a better way of doing this to improve our SEO? That was a better way if I just phrased it like that, right? Okay, and that is the whole section of this report. Oh, look, you can show me more and you can carry on going through all the pages. But that's it now. Okay. In that case, then, we are going to spend the time going through the Donkey Sanctuary again in the last sections of this course, and you'll see how local SEO actually makes a difference and how it could be populated for local SEO for when you have an actual physical location. See you in the next course. Okay, so we're going to run the SEO audit report for the local SEO sections and remainder of the audit reports, so those child element areas and what technology stacks that the website has. And we're doing it for the Flickr Foundation, the Donkey Sanctuary, the .org.uk again. And this is so you can compare it with your wwf.org.uk website and that section. And as you will notice and start to see as we go down to the bottom of the sections, and by the way, the local SEO isn't something that gets the overall grade, but you will notice that there is information on this one because they do have a specific physical area. And that's good because now they have the information, so it's going to be easier for people within that location to find them. And it also means that they might be going up the search rankings on the page within that local area too. So it uses geographical locations. Right, let's carry on down. God, this report feels so long when we do it this way. Okay, further down, local SEO. Right, I'm going to go back to this scheme of it in a minute, I think. But what it's saying is you have a Google business page identified. So a lot of the time, say if we had a Google account, it's a business account, it automatically created for us. However, they can also sometimes determine that from the domain name up here. And Google does that for you a bit in the background. Then you also have, a Google Business Profile Completeness. So they know what they mean is, do they have the details of where your physical address is? So they know the address, they know the phone number, and they know the website. So that's great. So this information now can appear on the Google Maps. You know, when people search things in. And if there's people searching within this location for a donkey sanctuary, maybe, I don't know where this was it Surrey? Can't remember. This search ranking should come up more prominently because it's within geographical area. I don't know 100% the algorithms around there, but location does make a difference. And this is where, if you do have a physical site, it's well worth doing something like this. Sorry, physical premise and location. They also reward you for Google reviews. And as you can see, it's got a nice rating here. Now, going back to this, your local business schema. Now, this is, if you've ever done a search results and you see the SERP, so let's go back up to what the SERP was. Oh, the snippet, sorry, rich snippet. My brain's going everywhere. Here it is. See this bit? This is created dynamically based on a schema that Google can read. So it takes the information from the website and formulates it in a way that it believes will resonate with the people searching for your website. So they've got it for the main website itself, but you can also do it for local, so in area geographical locations, SEO. And the reason why that'd be important is because then it might pick up things like location and things like that. So it is good to have that as well within your local SEO. Now, you don't have to know how to do it. It's quite a techie thing, but a lot of the web content management systems do it for you. So you want this in place if you have a physical location somewhere, because it will help with your search rankings when people are searching for you within that location or near to that location. It will change. You'll go up higher versus someone that was searching from a different location. Okay. Now let's look at the other sections. Technology, this is just what your website is made up in the environment. Now this is not always the most up to date. It can take things that you potentially think your website wasn't using or has been archived, but it takes a bit of a snapshot of what technology is there. Again, your IP address. So this is just the numbers behind the domain name. Different domain name servers, you don't need to worry about this, but these are where your domain names will get registered as well. So you get registration service, but your domain's served from there. What server type it is, and this character string that I'm rubbish at explaining. So I'm not going to try. Believe me, there's loads of stuff around, and I'd have to get extremely technical to be able to do it again. And these are all the different child pages that this website is referencing at the moment. And let's see if there's anything interesting. I think we've got Visit, Adopt Donkey, Donkey Gallery, About Us. About Us is quite high, which I find interesting. Donkey Sanctuary. Okay. It's because I'm being daft. It's in alphabetical order. But when I have a look at some of the information, makes more sense in alphabetical order. If you clicked on a link as well, it would run the reports for that particular link. Now, when you do the SEO reports, it typically tries to create as much as a big picture as possible across a section of your different pages for your website. However, if you have a page that is updated frequently or drives a lot of what you believe will drive a lot of traffic to your website, I would run the SEO report specifically on that page as well. Some of the contents, the holding information won't change and still be applicable to the overall site, maybe things like performance, social connections, all those kind of things. But things like, let's go and have a look, Donkey Defenders. Things like your keywords might change because the content of that page will be slightly different. Things like your the authority or the quality of the page itself might be different. How the page displays and usability could be different. So they get a different grade potentially when you look at a specific page of that website. However, some elements can be very much the same. Let's go through, have a very quick look so we can have a browse. This might change because it's for a specific page. So this is again what Google makes up based on the content of your page, the title of your page, and the meta description. So this is a nice snippet of information that sometimes when you're searching on Google, you will see pop up. It doesn't guarantee that this is going to display for every single page that people search for you. It's up to Google's discretion when it gets showed. And the high quality of your pages and when you build up your SEO rankings and your domain names, this gets showed more frequently. And that's a great win because that means, oh, you know what? Google are thinking you're doing something right and providing these more richer snippets because they want to give people a bit more information and context to your web page, which will ideally drive you more traffic. Let's go through. If you was looking at per page, you might look at what the human headers are on the page, so you can get an idea for what keywords are used as well. So on this page, donkey's used as you expect. And then you might want to look at the phrases. So donkey defenders, spelled different ways. I'd wonder why that's quite different. So sometimes it's worth looking at a page you think that you're going to drive a lot of traffic to. So meet the donkeys, adopt the donkeys, pictures of donkeys, if it changes quite frequently. I would start off with the overall shell of the website, see areas of improvements. Then when I create like a content strategy to align to potential keywords I might want to use, then I'd want to those specific pages that have a lot of the content aligned to those keywords. So say donkey adoption would be a big thing I might want to drive. And this is donkey defenders. So maybe it talks about donkey adoption. Then I'd want to look to see if keywords are coming up. I'd want to see how my rankings are aligned to those keywords. But I wouldn't do that straight away. I'd probably do that over time when content has time to resonate with the people and the search rankings have had time to register with Google. Okay, I think we covered all aspects now. What I might do is I might just have a quick look at wwf.org.uk so you can see the events and see how that particular page is. But I think apart from that, we might be done. Okay, so this is only going to be a quick kind of audit report on wwf.org.uk. just so you can see that it when you go through a whole website, it covers a whole section. So it's the homepage I focused on, but it covers a section of the different pages, the overall performance of the website, etc. However, these elements can change slightly if you do a particular page review. So I'm going to show you an example. So at the moment, it says Wild Fun for Wild Fun for Nature, WWF. And this is because this is referencing the specific homepage. And some of these keywords also might be referencing the specific homepage, but also some other elements. There's no 100% confirmed of what it is, but let's go and have a look. And I just wanted to show you, when you go down onto these different pages, say if I wanted to look at events, I click on that, it will rerun the report for you. Remember, if you have a free version, that you will have a limit to how many times you can run this a day. It'll give me an overall rating. Now, I wouldn't take too much account for this. As you see, the score is a bit lower than their A+. And usability is one that's come out bad. Now, I would do this if I'm going to consider how I might restructure a specific area. So for WWF, events is probably quite a big thing. I also think the events and how they structure their page, how content they can create on there, and partnerships they can create about the events could be a very good area to look at to improve their SEO even more, get them that A++ and be on the top rankings all the time when it comes to search. So if I was formulating a strategy, I might go, okay, I'll have a look and see how the specific page of events is currently structuring for what's happening. So usability is rubbish. Let's go and have a look at there. Let's scan through. On page SEO is fine. So the titles, because we're looking at a particular page, it is referencing the description of that particular page now. So it's referencing the title of the page. So here, our challenge events, join the race to save our world, WWF. So it's all about events. And the meta description, which what Google looks at, as well as the title, run, walk, or cycle and raise funds, blah, blah, blah. So it's different to what the homepage is. Also, this rich snippet is as well. This is dynamically created by Google based on the information of the page, the meta description, and the title. So this is a representation of what might be shown. However, this can change, and algorithms change all the time. You start seeing this when you type yourself and search yourself. It's a good sign. That means that Google's kind of going, I like what you're doing, and information is aligning to what the customers are searching for. But on the events page, it's basically saying the human element title. So what human, you can see the header ones are not present on that page. So that's not great. I would want to change it. I would want to have something like events for WWF and make sure that was present. Sometimes these words are taken from the specific events words. So I'd want to look at these and see if they make sense. Because they're single individual words, it's quite hard to consider ones you might want to focus on. And you might want to look at the more value, like these ones where it's more phrases. But overall, I try and figure out a content strategy, I think. So half marathon, maybe, I don't know, or WWF marathon or WWF events. Yeah, I probably want WWF events in there for sure, or WWF charity or WWF partnerships. Something in there that is more aligned to what the event space is trying to promote, or people might actually search for. So this is an area I would look at if I was trying to increase their traffic. And again, the title is what Google looks for. Meta description is a description of the pages of the service. Again, how Google looks for it. Header tags is the human, so what's on you see in the web page, and this is what they count as the frequency. So the most used terms of WWF's team, to me, is this is really implying that the events section definitely can have some improvement in how the content is not just how the page is structured, as well as how the content itself is formulated to be more aligned to how people might search. Definitely, I would improve this. Their image alt tags, if you can imagine, they've got loads of images. So you would want description of those images to make it a richer experience for those that are using a reader, because Google rewards you for that. And they've not got that on all of them. I'm not going to worry too much about these, because a lot of the schema and things like that are more of the holistic website. Same with this, might be more holistic. And it was page the link domains. Here, they're telling you what specific links are coming to the page. That would be worth a look. This is all a bit jumbled, isn't it? But the domain strength is they're saying that this link has quite a good domain strength at 74 out of 100. Right, your domain name, which is basically how good this wwf.org.uk/events is, or strength it is, so it's quite good, but your page strength is 44, you'd want to improve it. This is a bit iffy whether you'd look at it just in the event section, but I might want to drive backlinks to here, so I probably want to improve that page ratio. So all the different basically charities or different fund me events or GoFundMe, the links to this page, that's the links that you want to increase, and that will definitely help your SEO. So I'd look at all the links section. I wouldn't worry about the structure too much. And we've got an F in usability. You actually can't tell that much on this image. So again, test it yourself on your own website, on your own tablets and your own mobile devices, and ask friends and family. But what it's really referring to is that it doesn't resize correctly on these different devices. But check and see. There's kind of a funny speed thing, but you don't know if 100% if that's correct, because the speed test is probably run out in the States, so you need to investigate more. And I would get techies on board for that, actually, because there's different tools you could put in place. Legible fonts, that means it's there's some that they don't like that are small, but like it was on the main site, it looks to be more the footer, like your copyright maybe this time, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. It'll be minimal impact in SEO. And they're also saying, this is maybe why you got such a bad score on usability, is that images or sections are not spaced out enough to enable for a touch screen. This is probably why they got such a bad score here. Because if you can imagine, most people search on Google on their mobile phones these days. Say if you wanted to sign up to an event, maybe that sign up to the event is not very user friendly when you're doing it from a mobile device. So I definitely would look there to improve their traffic. And I think that's it in terms of what I specifically would look at for areas where I might want to create content to help them with their SEO. Okay, well, I think that is us for all the different reports. Hopefully have fun on this. Any questions, you know where I am, and I'll be creating a video in the project section so you can get an understanding how you can run some of these for yourselves.